The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Zack Sabre Jr., New Japan Cup winner 2018. And you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style with my mates. Enjoy.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy, Donovan, and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll be reviewing Summer Struggle in Jingu, NJPW Strong, answering your questions and covering all latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network or to Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving us a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, proWrestlingTees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by Manscaped, who is best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SUPLEX at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use our promo code SUPLEX. Young boy, how you doing, man?
Oh, man, I am just so wonderful. I mean,
wonderful.
Wonderful. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, what a weekend, you know, just so many incredible shows. I mean, Big Japan, New Japan, Payback. I mean, we are really living in a Renaissance era for classic wrestling. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed The Fiend and Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns.
Yo, how about last night when I was in an altered state, I brought up the fact that the ring posts were different and everyone made fun of me. I was ahead.
You were, yeah.
I was like, why don't they have the LED, like, turnbuckles up tonight? That's weird. And, like, main event comes around. Oh, they're going to break the ring. Because they definitely, dude, that's a funny thing. Like, they can't break that ring if they have those LED boards and stuff.
Right. And dude, gotta give major props to little Nate's Charles Robinson for that bump he took over the ropes.
I didn't even notice it. Did he take a big bump?
Oh my gosh, he almost broke his neck, like laying himself over the rope as the whole ring broke down.
Oh wow, I'll have to check that back out. I mean, but yeah, you know, Vince, he tried to counter program Jingu Stadium, but it did not work.
He did not win this war on brand supremacy. New Japan was a stronger brand this weekend.
The Sunday Night Wars.
All right, man.
But yeah, man, I'm excited. We've got the first time in probably 9 months where we've had it. Well, I know since February. First time since February that we've had like an actually truly great New Japan show top to bottom. So, I mean, not great math. Was it 7 months?
Yeah, something like
8
that.
months?
Yeah.
Something like that. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Me too, man. It was a great show. So, yeah, man, let's not waste any more time. Let's dive into it.
Before we start, I'd just like to welcome all of you new listeners because it's around this time of the year that we get new listeners. And I just want you all to know that we appreciate you tuning in. checking us out, sticking with us, and you're listening to the Ace of Podcasts.
You're listening to the longest running weekly episodic New Japan Pro Wrestling podcast.
Oh man. Yeah, I heard another New Japan podcast. It sounded like they were maybe like throwing some shade at us. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll talk about that off here.
Talk about it.
So yeah, let's talk about Summer Struggle in Jingu out here in Jingu Stadium. And I want to open up with a question that we got from Reddit user Viking Payne. He says, I really like the Jingu Stadium aesthetics. Will a Summer Struggle-esque show become a yearly thing now? Perhaps in September after the G1 and summer heat. It was around 9 degrees and humid at the show. Also thoughts on the crowd noise app NJPW have been experimenting with. So on the show, we got big outside venue here in this big stadium event, baseball field, got the wrestlers coming out from the dugouts, we got fireworks, we got this NJPW crowd app with the noise that they tested in Corkin and then used here in Jingu. So young boy, what was your overall thoughts on just the look of the show and the app and all that?
Well, as far as the look of the show, I thought it was, fabulous. I thought it was stupendous. I thought it was just tremendous, In all seriousness, though, I thought it looked really, really good. It's, we've to have so many actual fans in attendance at these indoor shows, due to the social distancing and, limiting of, how many bodies they get and everything of that nature. So being in an outdoor arena that's open air, it's still, it was still social distance. It was still limited capacity, but it seemed, and I don't know the ins and outs, maybe you have the details, but it seemed like there was a lot of people there. I mean, maybe like, what was that? Probably a quarter capacity is what it looked like to me.
Yeah, I didn't grab the final attendance number, but it was still a good amount of people there.
There's probably something close to like, I don't know, between 5,000 to 10,000, something of that nature. Which I think that it bothered some people, but I remember, like, for instance, like Showdown at Shea or like the WCCW Parade of Champions, when those shows were both held in open air fields and arenas, they didn't sell them out, so you could see quite a few empty, spots, but they happened to be two of the largest attended shows ever in history up to that point. So they were seen as successes and having like a lively crowd. And I thought that this was a good crowd. We obviously couldn't hear them because they are limiting whether the people can shout or not during these shows, which I was surprised by that. I'm not going to lie. For some reason, I kind of anticipated that them being in the open air, everything we know from the CDC guidelines, that it might have allowed them to allow for actual fan cheering. But I'm not totally opposed to what they were doing. As far as the crowd seemed super into it, very attentive, clapping, happy to be there, everything of that nature. As far as the cheering, I mean, I don't know. That I was surprised with the app. I didn't know that they had the capability to do it in other places. I sort of thought it was something that was only outfitted for Cork and Hall specifically. So I messaged you. I was confused. I was like, yo, are they piping in like the audience sounds? Because I didn't even hear any of those, piped in cheers until like halfway through the show, basically. And I was like, that's really surprising that they're choosing to do it now. But I think maybe it's just the people were choosing to use the app later on in the show as they got more and more invested in the card. So one thing, though, is it might make sense for them not to allow cheering yet, because if you let them do it on one show, but you're not going to be able to do it for your other shows going forward, it might not be the best thing. You might just, if you're going to go with it, you invested the money in this crowd app, with the noise. And I know there are people who are against it. I don't love it myself, but I get why they're doing it. It might make more sense to just wait until you're allowed to have cheering at all your shows, just point blank. I don't know.
Yeah, that can make sense. And I got an attendance number here. This is based off a cage match, attendance of 4,710 at the Jingu Stadium here. So
if that seats about 20,000, they were probably like a quarter capacity, basically.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I agree with you. I love the whole look. It was just so great to kind of mix things up, get out of Cork and Hall and get out of some of these other smaller buildings out in this big, Baseball stadium, thought it was a great setup. I love the use of, the fireworks and the sparklers. And, the crowd app, I'm not a huge fan of right now. Maybe there's still more tweaks that need to be done to it. But, I heard it during the Cork and Hall shows, and I was just kind of like, not really digging it. And then they start, like you mentioned, for the kind of the first few matches, they weren't really using the app. And so it's just kind of, the normal clapping, which we're getting used to. And then later on in the card, they started whipped the phones out and started using the app, and so getting that kind of weird, like, piped-in crowd noise.
It also seemed like, some of the positives. We know that they don't like certain things because they're using the boos to help the wrestlers that are getting heat, get jeered and get boos and things of that nature. So that is kind of beneficial. I think the most startling thing for me, it's not even the artificialness of the sound. It's the abruptness as to when it kicks in and then kicks off. Like, there doesn't seem to be like a ramping up. It doesn't come in subtly. It's either like, ha, or like, boo, and then like it just drops. And then you're like, oh man, what's going on? This match is weird. It just makes the match feel weird.
Yeah, it's just super weird.
The other thing too is, like, I'm not going to sit here and spout out that myth that gets, spread around the internet so often, like, oh, the polite Japanese crowds, they never make noise. Like, no, it's not true. Like, go watch Wrestle Kingdom, go watch Naito and Okada and tell me that crowd wasn't one of the most raucous crowds you've ever heard. That being said, though, they are generally respectful of the performers at certain periods. Like, they pick and choose their times of when to cheer. And I think it's harder to kind of like bridge the gap from like when you would emotionally feel the need to cheer, as a wrestling observer versus electing to do it from a phone app. Like, I don't think it's a perfect translation. So it almost feels like the cheers are coming in at times when the fans wouldn't have normally necessarily done that, or maybe they would have, but because they weren't doing it prior to that, it just feels like kind of out of nowhere. So it doesn't have that authentic New Japan feel, even though it's giving the fans a voice. So I see why they're doing it, but I see why people don't like it also.
Yeah, I'm sure if you're there, first a really big show in a while, and you're there live, and you're getting caught up in the atmosphere, you're getting caught up in the matches, you might forget to pull your phone out, or you pull it out too late, or kind of thing. And so, yeah. But
I don't know. I guess it's just one of those things we're gonna have to live with. I will say I thought that the crowds were worse when they were just clapping. So at least there's that. I don't like this thing, but when it was just the clapping, that was a step down from what this is. And this is better than, like, say, what WWE is doing, where they're just artificially putting sound in and there's no impetus as to why, aside from their own inclination. So
right. Well, let's talk about this card here. So we'll start from the opening match here. So we had the heel master, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, defeating the Grandmaster, Master Wato, 7 minutes and 31 seconds.
You sure about that? You sure that this man's a Grandmaster?
Well,
because I think it was a couple weeks ago when I started telling you, I don't know, man. I'm not feeling it so much. This man's looking a little green, a little rusty.
Yes, you were definitely ahead in that situation. We had kind of, well, I know I had jumped on the Wato bandwagon earlier on. He was out here doing tornillos and spiral taps. I was like, all right, sign me up. This looks great. Then you started pointing out, a couple weeks ago, I was like, it's okay. It's some tag matches. It'll be fine. When he gets in there singles, it's going to be good. Then this match happened, and I was just like, boy, this man was, he missed a lot of spots. There was a lot of botches. Like, Kanemaru, saved him on so many spots here.
Yeah, they put him in there with the right guy. I saw a lot of hatred, and kind of like, I don't know if hatred's the word, but a lot of people that didn't necessarily love this match were kind of upset with the performances and some of the booking and the outcomes too, which I think we should talk about. I was surprised. I was surprised at the quality, and I was surprised that they elected to put Yoshinobu Kanemaru over Master Wato here.
Yeah, that was very surprising. This whole Wato debut has definitely been very interesting. You know, we had the weeks of the build-up of the Way to Grandmaster videos. He cuts that, you know, promo. Crowd doesn't really know how to react. Gets jumped by Doki, and then has the match of Doki, wins, and you're like, okay, maybe, you know, this is kind of the path. He's going to start from the bottom of the juniors and work his way up. And it's like, all right, he's probably going to end up working his way through Suzuki-gun juniors. He's going to beat Doki, then he's going to beat Kanemaru, and then he's going to, you know, have a big feud with Desperado. But no, yeah, it was very surprising here. They had Kanemaru pull out the win here, and pretty relatively clean. You know, Wato's going for his spiral tap maneuver that he calls, I think it's the RRP, and Wato ends up getting a quick inside cradle, rolls him up 1, 2, 3, and gets the win.
Yeah, when I was watching that segment, I actually had to stop the show and rewind it to see if I what happened there. Like, what did I miss? Yeah, there was a bit of sloppiness. I didn't think this was the worst opener in the world. I just you know, the crowd didn't really seem to be with Master Wato like I kind of anticipated that they might be, and they definitely weren't using the app at all, one way or the other, for the heat or for the shine. And there were quite a few botches from Master Wato, some more noticeable than others. I thought they kept the match at the right length, 7 minutes and 31 seconds. But this is Master Wato's only second singles match in the company since his return from Excursion. And on a big show like this, he gets beat clean by Kanemaru. Now, I know it was a surprise roll-up, but those count, ladies and gentlemen. So
A win's a win.
What's that?
I said a win's a win.
Yeah, a win's a win. And Kanemaru didn't hit him with no whiskey bottle. He didn't give him a Satori special. He didn't hit him with what's his finisher? The Deep Six?
Deep Impact.
Deep Impact. What is that? Star Trek Deep Six or something like that? I don't know.
Deep Six, that's Corbin's.
Yeah, that guy.
Spinning power bomb thing.
I don't know. It's the same shit. Kanemaru and Corbin are the same guy.
Wow. You're going to get some heat from some diehard puros.
No, I'm just joking. No, I really like Kanemaru. In fact, I thought he looked really good in this match.
Yeah, I was really impressed by Kanemaru in this match. I think Kanemaru is definitely one of those guys. He's very underrated. You know, also he doesn't go out here and put off, you know, 4.5, 5-star bangers all the time, but he can have some really good matches, and he's, you know, a wily veteran, kind of the grumpy old, you know, veteran of Suzuki-gun, and he's the right guy to be in there.
Kanemaru was one of the greatest, you know, Noah juniors of all time, and has kind of wound down as he's come over. But I mean, he still does the jumping guillotine leg drop off the barricades, which I love. But yeah, he picks up a clean win here. I don't know where they go with Master Wato at this point, and I was definitely very surprised. I like the match length, 7 minutes 31 seconds, but very, very surprised here. I would have imagined, you know, that Wato beat Kanemaru clean, and I don't know. Maybe they're going to continue the feud after this. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, we got some news, kind of what's coming up in the junior division, and so
that's correct.
We'll see some more Wato and Kanemaru and Suzuki-gun action later on in this.
We also have some news regarding what Viking Pain mentioned when he asked about Jingu Stadium, whether, you know, there'll be a yearly show like that or not. And we'll talk about that more in the news later.
Yeah. And we did have 2 questions here. So first, from Reddit user otherside_B, what do you think of the Master Wato character so far? Personally, I feel the gimmick is a bit cartoonish. It hasn't resonated with me. I do like the fact that it appears to be a slow rise up the junior ranks with the loss at Jingu.
You know, it's just one of those things where it's like, part of me feels like this might have been more of like a cultural gimmick. I don't want to get myself in hot water, but what I mean is like this might have been a gimmick that resonates more with the Japanese domestic audience than us abroad. So I kind of gave it that sort of like benefit of the doubt. I also kind of am just like, you know what? At the end of the day, it's still Gedo. Gedo's booking, and this is kind of before he did all the bullshit this year that I haven't agreed with. And I just kind of was like, you know, we'll see where it goes from there. I always liked Hirai Kawato a lot before he went on Excursion. Wasn't impressed with a lot of the stuff that I heard and saw from his CMLL run, but I kind of just gave it the benefit of the doubt. But since he's come back, it's really been a mixed bag. I mean, I don't really have any sort of investment to the character one way or the other at all. It's more so the in-ring, and the in-ring is, I don't know, it's unbalanced. There are times where he shows real great athleticism and technical prowess, and then other times where like it seems like he's still learning how to wrestle, and he's been doing this since before this podcast started, like years and years. So like I'm kind of at a loss a little bit.
Yeah, I'm also kind of at a loss too. Yeah, I thought the look was cartoony, kind of weird, and just the way they're just kind of building him up. But I kind of overlooked the blue hair, the blue pants, and the blue and pink, and because that first match with Doki, like I thought he looked really good in that match with Doki, and a lot of stuff came off crisp there. But then going forward, you kind of started seeing the holes in the game, and just
the game.
just kind of maybe a lack of awareness sometimes, and just some spots just not hitting right, and almost getting lost at sometimes. And so
I think for me, what's even more baffling is the booking here. Anytime someone has gotten this kind of acclaim before they return from an excursion with all these vignettes and special treatment, it always results in something big. Now, I'm not saying that can't happen or won't happen down the road, because we don't know. I don't know what the booking is long term, but when you look at the day-to-day booking style of Gato, and you see a guy that gets brought in and he's not only losing in these multi-man matches, but taking the falls or tapping out himself, kind of tells, and especially in like 2-on-2 tag matches where he's the designated pin eater for a guy like, say, Tenzan, which like historically does make sense because he's the junior, but Tenzan's also a dad. And he's this new, fresh, young, bright-eyed guy that they brought in, and you kind of think they're going to give him the Hiromu treatment or a El Phantasmo treatment based on the vignettes, and it's been far from that. And maybe you're right. Maybe it is going to be a long, slow build that we can invest in, but I don't know, man. Like I've been watching for a while, and I've seen how they've treated Juice on his long, slow builds, and Yoshihashi on his low, long builds. And
hey, it paid off. He got the Never 6-Man titles.
Yeah, and Ishii ain't never touching that IWGP title. It's like, this is more of a company that likes to do we're going to skyrocket you to the moon, kid, and that sort of thing, or we're going to give you the push out of nowhere like Evil. Like, I can't remember too many long, slow builds in recent memory that really paid off, that were like super intentional.
Yeah, I don't know what Gato's planning here. Maybe the next question can kind of talk about maybe where they could be going, maybe. From Dom Homie 101, it says, it's been a while. Is it me or NJPW are setting up a swerve in Master Wato joining Suzuki-gun?
It might just be you. Well, I mean, I don't know. They could do that. I mean, they don't have. I mean, they've got 2 juniors already in, Despy and Kanemaru, but
3 with Doki.
Oh yeah, how can I forget? And anytime Taka wants to return, I mean, he's not on the roster right now, but like just this past year, those guys went to go work at Just Tap Out, and it's very clear that he's still an extended member of that group. But at the same time, I mean, unless they really plan to go, for me, it almost feels like they're planning to turn Desperado heavyweight at some point. Maybe not now, but he's filling out in his frame, sort of similar to like how Taichi was. And then you kind of look at the other guys. Kanemaru's aging. Doki is a lot better than people gave him credit for last year, but he's never going to be a top junior. Maybe they do have an open spot for like a junior ace sort of role within that group that we are not even seeing, and maybe he could fill it. But I'd rather see Ren Narita do that. So
yeah, I mean, we've talked about for years like how great like Narita would fit into Suzuki-gun. And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that could be interesting. Yeah, he gets kind of frustrated with, being this trying to be a grandmaster and trying to listen to Tenzan, and then eventually maybe just kind of snaps and just ends up going with Suzuki and joining Suzuki-gun. I mean, it could happen. Crazier things have happened, but I'm not sure that's the direction they're going.
I don't know, but like, it's sort of like if you get beat, if you're getting your ass beat by the group and then you join them, doesn't that make you a hoe? Like, it's like Big Show back in 1996. Like, Hogan clanked him in the head with the belt, took his title, and then they beat his ass every week and like spray painted him, put yellow down his back, and then one week he's just with them, and they're like, "Swerve, bro."
Hey, you can't beat him, join him.
Dude, they beat your ass every week. They took your belt, and now you're a mid-carder. What the fuck? So I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
It's a weird year.
Yeah, hey, yeah, dude. It's 2020. Evil was the IWGP champion. Anything could happen. So, take us to the next matchup here.
The next week, or the next match we have here, we have the long-awaited, illustrious, very prestigious New Japan Pro Wrestling King of Pro Wrestling title, provisional, lineal title tournament final four-way match between El Desperado, Kazuchika Okada, Toru Yano, and Sonata.
All right, so before we talk about this actual match, clearly we didn't talk about the Cork and Hall show, so maybe just a quick
Oh, do we have to talk about those two shows?
No. Just a quick thoughts on the KOPW matches that led to this. So,
okay, yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. I've had a lot of thoughts about those shows, but like so much has happened since then, I kind of forgot. Okay.
We had
congratulations to you and I, where we both predicted accurately the final four lineup of this tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, we predicted a lot of stuff right on this show.
Yeah, we did. We didn't get the results of these two matches accurate, but still. Yeah, I mean, as far as the four, and I'll just go real quick, I actually really liked Desperado and Kojima overall, but at 15 minutes for them to do the fuck finish that they ended up doing, it just kind of seemed like, what's the point here? And it, I think in the minds of a lot of fans, just brought the match way, way down. And it didn't help Desperado because he got left laying. Kojima looks like a badass, but still loses. And it's like, why would I even hope to think that Desperado should win this in any respect? And also, why did you waste our time making this match 15 minutes when it could have easily been a 6 or 7 minute match? I mean, if you guys were going to do what you did there. So it just seemed overbooked. A lot of people liked the show Sonata match. I did not. I thought it was boring. And this is coming from someone who loves technical catch, grapple fuck style wrestling. I love World of Sport. I love that sort of style. And I didn't think that they were doing a very good job of it all. I liked their match from New Japan Cup even better than this one. Dave gave it 4 stars. I think that's ludicrous. I would have gone maybe 3 max.
What, on the New Japan Cup match?
No, on this one.
I don't think its ratings aren't out yet for this.
I saw online and I saw that he gave it 4 stars. Or maybe that's the other match from before. I don't know.
Yeah, because newsletter this week that came out didn't have the ratings in it. So
I'd be messing around on Cage Match and not always paying attention. So maybe it was the match from earlier in the year. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't love that match at all. I also thought it kind of sucked because Sho was trying so desperately to go for his armbar, and they're not letting him get his armbar over. Like, it's good enough to beat losers, but it's not a strong enough weapon to beat a guy like Sonata. So that's cool, whatever. So Sonata moves on. Toru Yano. I actually thought that the Toru Yano Bushi match was probably the most enjoyable of all the matches for me, just because it was short. It was exactly what I expected. It was funny. It didn't overstay its welcome. It was just a comedy match, and Toru Yano uses his wiles to get past a crafty Bushi, which was fine. And then Okada against Yujiro and Gato and Jado. I would say it's the worst match of the year, but it's not. It's the second worst match of the year because Okada and Gato already did that earlier.
Yeah.
during the New Japan Cup. So this is the second worst match of the year, and they both involve Okada and they both involve Gato. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and my thoughts real quick. I did enjoy the Desperado Kojima match. I didn't like
you did or did not?
I did for the most part. I didn't like the fact that it went that long with that finish, but I actually did kind of like the finish in the fact that Desperado kind of baited Kojima into using the lariat to kind of get the win, and in a way kind of, being a dastardly heel, kind of outsmarting Kojima. But to your point, Desperado didn't come off looking strong based off of that. Moving on to Yano and Bushi, like you said, short match, kind of like what we were expecting. Some comedy. You had some quick near falls and it didn't extend its welcome. Yano gets a win there. Sonata and Sho. Also, I was not really a big fan of that match as well. It was just, it just felt really slow. I think the lack of crowd, like energy and noise into it, definitely didn't help at all. So just kind of this quiet, slow, boring, grappling match. These dudes trying to work holes, and yeah, I wasn't ultimately a big fan of that. And then you mentioned Okada against Jado, Gato, and Yujiro, second worst match of the year. I never want to see Okada in the ring with Yujiro, Gato, and Jado ever again. But knowing our luck, it probably will be happening on these New Japan Road shows coming up. But yeah, clearly it was obvious that Okada was going to get the win regardless of the stipulation and move on. So
one thing, I could be wrong here, but I'm looking at Cage Match, and I don't know, maybe they don't verify these Wrestling Observer newsletter ratings, but for some reason they've got 4 stars on Sonata Show for Dave's rating there. Okay. I don't know if he said it on maybe the air or something.
Gotcha, yeah.
I know I'm not crazy, but maybe that'll get adjusted. We'll see.
But yeah, so let's actually talk about this 4-way match here. So what do you think?
I don't know, man. It just seemed, you hear, like, every time I think about, like, James Boyd and we'll be in the group chats and, like, someone writes something stupid and he's like, man, why y'all playing on my damn phone? That's what I was like here. I was like, man, why y'all playing on my damn card right now? Like, this is a waste of my time, a waste of your time. I don't know, man. It's whatever. It was a 7-minute match. Was there anything notable to you? Did you find anything notable aside from the outcome?
Yeah, really it's the outcome. I mean, there was your typical Yano comedy spots, taking off the turnbuckle and, trying to work with Okada. Desperado was, kind of being heel, trying to cheat. Sonata was just kind of there.
I don't know who threw this out. Someone mentioned maybe KOPW was a way to, like, shoehorn Yano and Suzuki back into a feud with one another down the road, and, like, that's seeming more and more plausible. So maybe if that's, like, where we're heading with this, then maybe it will all be worth it. But other than that, like, I don't know, man. It was 7 minutes. I guess they did as good as they could given the time that was there. But it wasn't a bad match. I've seen people, like, literally openly state they thought this was actively bad. It wasn't actively bad. Like, in a vacuum, it was a fine match, I guess. It's just weird when you've got the ace of the company and then all these other guys. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just baffling to me.
Yeah, it was just kind of there. Like, Okada mailed it in, Sonata mailed it in, Yano was doing his shtick, Desperado kind of mailed it in too. Like, these guys clearly were just there to have a match. They had it was a fine little match, but you got those guys in there, and this being a big show, and very weird to have a guy like Okada and Sonata in the second match on a big show like this. You would think, especially with their history and rivalry, there would have been like some kind of epic exchange between
It seems weird, everything that they've done with Okada up to this point since they've returned. I mean, sure, they gave him a prominent spot in the New Japan Cup, but once we got past the New Japan Cup, they saddled him in this feud with the Bullet Club, namely specifically with Yujiro and Gato and Gato and Jado, and it just seemed like a waste of time, something to kind of distract. And then now we're kind of here, and, like, Toru Yano didn't even take his shirt off, and he pinned Okada clean, which, granted, is plausible because Yano can pin anybody on any given night. You know, there is always that. But then it's sort of like, what was the point of all this? Why did we have a press conference? Why did we have a tournament? Why was there a trophy? And why is this even happening? Part of me almost feels like they started this thing to appease Okada, realized that it was not the hottest idea, but couldn't just derail it like flat out. So like, all right, what can we do to kind of maybe save it? Because maybe they realized that it wasn't such a good idea to have a bunch of, you know, actual true to life gimmick matches in New Japan with no build, story, reason, rhyme, anything of that nature, you know? I'm like, well, we could put it on Yano. He's a goofy guy. And then that kind of makes sense. And then we could just move Okada away from it and just get the stench off of him, you know? Maybe people will like it because it's Yano. There are people who like Yano. Yeah, we'll do that. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like maybe Yano was in backstage one day. I was like, hey, Okada, man, I kind of want to do some gimmick matches. Can you throw out this idea, pitch it to Gato, say it's your idea so I can, you know, be fun and goofy and get this new gimmick over.
So we have two totally differing opinions. I think that this was an audible that was called last minute because they saw the error of their ways. You think that this was deep within the works, way from the outset. Like, Yano's the real mastermind all along, and like,
yep.
Okada's been his pawn.
Yo, you saw how happy that man was when he won that?
It's whatever, man. It's whatever. Yeah. And you know what? That probably means we're probably gonna get Yano and Okada in the G1 again, and we'll get a match where Yano almost pins Okada a million times before Okada puts him in that shitty
money clip.
You know, yeah, the money clip, and sits him on his ass and makes him tap.
And so, you know, last week, you know, I think I said, you know, Okada officially for my prediction, but I did say I could totally see Toru Yano winning this thing, and it just be him doing a bunch of goofy gimmick matches the rest of the year.
You did say that, and I will corroborate that and applaud you. You want to know my real feelings on this a little bit?
Lay it on me.
There's some people who kind of are like, I've seen this sentiment a lot. There's people who are like, oh, y'all thought this was going to suck, but Yano won, and he's going to get this shit over. Part of me is thinking like, well, if Yano's got to get it over, then that kind of tells you that it was shitty from the get-go. But I'm kind of glad that it happened this way because in my opinion, unless, oh God, this just came to my... What if the fact that he pinned Okada means that we're getting a Yano Okada little mini feud for the KOPW title? That is a real possibility, and I didn't think of it until literally on the air just now.
It could be, but Okada did say he was done with KOPW for now and focused on G1.
Right. You're right. He said that during the press conference, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Scratch that. The reason I'm kind of glad that it's Yano is because I hated the idea of this to begin with. I never wanted to see it happen. Now it has happened. We didn't get one actual true gimmick matches, match. We got a bunch of quote unquote gimmick matches that weren't really gimmick matches at all.
Just minor alterations to a regular match.
Just regular matches with some alterations. And now that Yano's the guy who has it, it's not prestigious whatsoever. And it probably will be forgotten by next year. And to me, this kind of justifies my original opinions on the entire concept, and kind of is like a fuck you to all those people that were like, well, at least it's something different, something to break up the monotony of the year later on. No, fuck that. And this probably pretty much ensures that this thing's going away by next year. We will not be seeing this again next year.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of happy.
Dude, as soon as I saw that little trophy they brought out in Cork and Hall.
Bro, that little ass trophy probably I wish we would have seen that before we recorded last week's episode because I would have never said Okada was winning it.
Yeah, dude, that thing, you know, we were giving a hard time on the New Japan Cup USA trophy.
Bro.
Dude, it makes New Japan Cup USA trophy look like, you know, one of those
the Stanley Cup or something.
Yeah.
Like, it made it look incredible. Like, yeah, that dinky ass trophy, like, holy crap. Man, the Keeping It Strong Style year-end awards are more prestigious than that KOPW trophy.
Seriously.
Oh man, we have a lot of questions for this particular match. I don't know why, but there are so many questions.
Yeah. So first question here from Muzza in the Discord. He says, "How did we not think the true ace Toru Yano was going to win KOPW?"
You're right. The funny thing is, like, we're these probably are a bunch of joke questions because Yano's a joke and this is a joke, and it's kind of just this whole thing is it's a farce.
But Muzza, I did think that last week. I was like, I could see it. I was like, either they're gonna go try and make it super serious and go with Okada, or they're gonna make it super goofy and go with Yano and just have Yano just do a bunch of goofy gimmicks throughout the year.
I guess the whole reason I just thought that they wouldn't do that is because they involved the ace of the company in it. Like,
Right.
Why would you involve him in it in any capacity? Whether it was saying it was his idea, having him do a press conference, every like, he's been intrinsically linked to this thing since the beginning, and then I guess they were like thinking for him to add credibility to it, but it doesn't at all when you just turn around and put it on Yano. Like,
Yeah.
Sorry. Grunty Dodds asked, a month ago, there was speculation that Okada was going to compete in a death match in Jingo. Turns out we got the KOPW instead. Now that it's all over, would you have rather seen Okada in an rope, time bomb, barbed wire, fuckery board death match? If it was with the right guy.
Yeah, if it was the right guy, right build, right story, like we mentioned, that should be used for big gimmick matches, then sure. If you had some kind of crazy blood feud.
You want to bring in... Nah, they could just... It doesn't have to be a blood feud. This is an easy one. You bring in Jun Kasai, and he's the invader. And it's his style match. Boom. That's exactly what they did with Onita back in the day, and they printed money with this shit.
Yeah, and before we go on to the next question, I mentioned this earlier in one of the group chats. I was like, COVID Okada is pretty much like Balloon Okada. Pretty much is like...
Yep.
Loses a belt, loses his mind, doesn't wrestle as good, kind of mails it in until like G1's coming, and we're gonna do the exact same thing here.
Yeah, and when you mentioned that yesterday, I had the exact same sentiment. I was explaining to my girlfriend like what Okada was like when he lost the title to Kenny the first time, and I was like, it's the same thing, except he just looks a little more composed this time. But Jeremy, we all deal with loss differently, so who are we to judge Okada and the ways that he is handling his grief? So
yeah. So next question here from Reddit user Viking Pain. Which one would you rather have, a Slammy or the KOPW trophy? And watch out, don't get the KOPW thing over. Sorry, young boy.
He already got it under by being the champion. Like, literally, it's under. If he gets it over, then it's just going to be over as a joke. Unless they decide to use this as an opportunity to revamp Yano entirely. Because that's the only way that they're going to, quote unquote, get this over.
Yeah. First of all, first part of his question, I'd rather get a Slammy. Those Slammy trophies were awesome.
I don't want a Slammy or a KOPW trophy, but the Slammy does look better.
Yeah. As far as like getting it over, like, to me, honestly, like, this is R-Truth with the WWE 24/7 title.
That is literally what it is. It's exactly like that. And
I love R-Truth. He's hilarious. He cracks me up. Like, the 24/7 title being a joke, he's the perfect person to have it because he's goofy, he's funny, and it's treated as a joke. So if you want something to be a joke, Yano's the perfect person to put it on.
Yeah. Next question from Rambo and Slam Pig. If someone asked you to pick Okada or the Field to win the G1 with your life on the line, what would you pick? I would take Okada. I mean, so I've got to take the entire Field or Okada. I'm taking the entire Field.
Yeah, I would go with that also. I'm not... Obviously, I mean, you can never count Okada out and winning. They could easily have him win and main event the Dome again. But I don't know. I'm just not confident that he's winning. So I think there's a better percentage chance of taking the Field.
I mean, at this point, I don't really know who's even going to be in the G1. I think we have a pretty good idea, obviously, but we don't really know. And, I think the biggest thing is just like, I'm an odds guy. I'm a numbers guy. And I'm like, you want me to pick the 1 out of 20 versus the other 19? Like, no, fuck that. I'm going to take the other 19. And, and if my life's on the line, I'm taking the 19 over the 1.
Right.
Those seem like better odds.
Yeah. Let's see here. Next question from Reddit user psan91. With Yano winning KOPW 2020, does that make it the comedy belt status like a 24/7 belt in WWE? Also, if Okada not winning KOPW 2020 as many predicted, what do you think is next for him? I was thinking he wins the G1 and goes to face Naito at Wrestle Kingdom 15, only with the roles reversed, as Okada will be the challenger, this time Naito the champion.
That's not a terrible theory. We already kind of mentioned it. I do think it makes this belt comedic. Now, they have the option at this point between now and the end of the year. If they want to not make it comedic, they can maybe have someone serious win it. But keep in mind, I mean, we've got we're in September this month, and going into October is going to be the whole G1, right? Basically.
Yeah, G1 Climax is a month. Yeah, September 19th to October 18th, 19th, something like that.
Okay, so maybe you get, if you're talking about one big monthly show, hypothetically, for the rest of the year, maybe one in October, November, December, you're talking about maybe tops 3 big matches before the provisional title is awarded to the true, annual champion. So, I mean, how serious, what can they do with 3 matches between now and then,
Yeah. And, with, Yano being the trophy thief that he is, I think it's going to be one of those things where it's like, all right, you won it for 2020, it resets for 2021, he's going to be like, nah, and just keep stealing it for himself, and then it goes away.
I think it'll be something that, like, come January, 6th, no one will remember it. As far as the Okada thing, I don't think that's a terrible idea, especially given the current circumstances with COVID and everything. But it really depends on who's in the G1 and who's the champion going into Tokyo Dome. But, they already did 3 Tokyo Dome main events with Naito and Okada. I think a 4th is unlikely. I mean, Okada won the first 2. Naito finally overcame him on the 3rd one. Like, does Okada really need to get that comeuppance right now? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I guess we'll see. I do think it's an interesting story with the roles reversed. But, yeah, I don't know if you want to... Unless you just want Naito to beat him in the Dome as the champion.
Well, let's talk about this. What matches have happened if Naito, hypothetically, is the champion, and he might not. He might lose it after the G1. But let's say he's the champion going into Dome season. I mean, who has he never fought for the title before? Or just in general, who's he not fought in the last 2 years? I mean, almost everybody in the field he's pretty much fought.
Except
the only guy...
Tanahashi.
He hasn't fought Tanahashi recently. And he hasn't fought Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
But he's fought everybody else. So, if I'm just guessing based off of New Japan history, I would say it's probably, and I'm just basing this off history. This isn't my official opinion or pick. Has he fought Sonata recently? Not really.
No, I can't remember.
I usually like to pick somebody to win the G1 that the champion hasn't fought recently. That's a protected match, and I think the Tanahashi match might actually be a good pick. I think Ospreay might be a good pick.
Yeah, 2 good options there. That would be 2 good main events there for the Dome.
I know some people are saying Shingo, and that is possible. I mean, they did fight in the G1 last year.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, Shingo is still my way too early pick to win the G1. Obviously, I will make an educated pick once the blocks and participants are revealed.
Yeah. Next question from Chris_Ertz. He said, according to Okada post-match, he is done with KOPW and is focused on the G1. Was this always just a way to freshen up Yano's usual act while giving Okada something to keep him occupied till the G1? We either love or hate Yano, and the same can be said about the whole KOPW title. My answer is we don't really know, but if I had to guess, it could have been that, or they audibled at the last second when they realized that this thing was kind of shit.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Okada, something I want to mention, part of this just could be just his body is really banged up. I know if you watch that Okada documentary they did last year, just kind of showing his day-to-day life and just like how much pain he actually is in. And yes, I had all that time off, but it could be possible that his body's still kind of banged up and not wanting to go all out in these few months and waiting for the G1 to have his big matches. That's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, then I don't know. Have a faction warfare. I don't know. Suzuki is able to do it. I don't know.
Or just lose your smile and just wait till the G1 starts to come back.
Yeah, why can't they write somebody off like they write Okada off like you guys wrote Cody off? Send that man away for a little bit and then let him come back with with the vengeance. How often can you ever remember Okada looking weak?
Like in like a match or like?
No, outside of a match.
Like in a post-angle attack or something?
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to think of it, and like I feel like the only person that's really like gotten the better of him in the last few years is like Jay White.
Yeah, maybe Suzuki with the build to the Royal Quest match.
Maybe, yeah. Very rarely does this guy look weak. I wish someone would like fuck him up real bad, like kind of like what they did with Cody, and then have him go away. And then maybe he comes back with some vengeance. Gator likes to do the Southern booking. Book some Southern shit, man. I don't know.
Next question here from Dan Coffin. He says, what gimmick matches do you want to see Yano compete in as KOPW, and who should he defend against?
Oh, God, I don't care.
All I
hate that Dan wasted his time asking this question because he's a good friend of ours, but
yeah, I mean, like we mentioned, this thing is it's a total joke now. So obviously, like Yano and Taguchi, you can do another Yano and Bushi match.
No, I think it should be like Yano against like serious competitors, and he beats them,
and that just outsmarts them with his gimmick.
Yeah, guys that you like think should beat him, but then he just beats them.
So like he goes against like Kojima and beats him.
Someone like that, or like maybe Balak Fale. And I don't want to watch that match, but I'm just saying someone like that, like someone who you think should absolutely fuck up Yano, and then Yano beats them, and then it's hilarious. Also, are Yano and Colt Cabana still tag team partners? And if so, is there a Chaos and
Dark Order
secret connection that we don't know about?
I hadn't thought about that. Obviously with COVID travel restrictions, Colt Cabana hasn't been able to go over to Japan, so who knows? Maybe they are still want to be partners down the line, and maybe there's still open connection, and maybe there's a mask waiting for Yano when Cabana comes back to Japan.
Do you think that we'll see any of Colt Cabana's AEW matches show up on our excursion match of the year list this year?
As of right now, no. Maybe the 8-man tag coming up this Saturday at All Out could, maybe, depending how well that ends up going, but I don't think so.
Nah, he's not eligible. But yeah, honestly, I couldn't even think of a single gimmick match that I want to see Yano compete in. Maybe something that involves tape. I don't know.
Yeah, duct tape match.
I don't know, man.
Oh, there we go. Tape on a pole match.
No, fuck.
You get the tape, and then you're allowed to use it in the match as a legal weapon.
Maple Leaf Wrestling History Podcast says. MLW History Pod says, is it fair to say Okada can claim the distinction of having wrestled in one of the greatest matches in New Japan history, and now one of the worst as well? I think that his 3-on-1 match was even worse than his purposefully bad Wrestle Kingdom 6 match. And yeah, I think that was really, really terrible. Here's a controversial take. Okada is not eligible to be Wrestler of the Year right now.
Dude, I'm glad you said that. I was thinking about that the other day when I was driving. I was like, just thinking, because we were started talking about some of the award stuff, and I was just thinking, like, who do I come out? Who's going to be in our Wrestler of the Year? And I was listening to Observer Radio, and they're talking about the great year Suzuki had. I'm like, yeah, Suzuki's a candidate.
Bro, you and I have been talking about that off air, though.
Yeah, and then I was thinking, oh man, like Okada's not, not like, yeah, he had that awesome, Tokyo Dome match, two back-to-back, 5-star matches, but that ain't gonna cut it for the whole year.
Bro, he had an incredible 2 Tokyo Dome matches. He had a pretty, I think I liked it at the time, but like overall, it's not anything memorable, or it's pretty lackluster, the match with him and Tai Chi. And then after that, you go to COVID. He had what I would consider a failure of a New Japan Cup. He had the one match with Hiromu, which I think under-delivered, in my opinion. It's still a good match, but it under-delivered, and he hasn't done shit since then. And you can't live, hey, you had 2 of the best matches of the year. Perfect. Incredible. But it's not enough. And like, he's not going to be anywhere near like the Observer Wrestler of the Year awards, like nowhere near it. Like, he's not touching. When was the last time that, like, because you would say like Kazuchika Okada couldn't touch like a WWE champion when it came to like a year-end awards, but like, he's not touching Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
He's not touching Jon Moxley. Like, he's not touching Adam Cole, and it's fucking crazy. And you know what? Like, I don't know. We'll see. I feel more strongly about Okada not being in the runnings than say Naito, but I don't know if Naito is either. Like, the top 2 guys clearly are like Shingo and Hiromu.
Yeah, and then after that, Suzuki.
Suzuki's up there. Will probably would have been, but he hasn't been around.
Yeah.
Ishii's got to be up there.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, you said Hiromu already. Yeah.
Those are your top 4 guys.
People are going to need some stellar G1 performances to raise their stock this year.
Yeah, you can't write anybody. Yeah, we sound so stupid. You can't write anybody off before a G1 comes around. But okay, I'm so far off topic. Just to answer your question, like, yes, he's been in one of the worst matches of, I don't know if I'd say in New Japan ever, but he's in 2 really, really, really bad matches this year. So
yeah, not looking good on the resume.
But let's move on to the third match of the night.
Yeah, we spent way too much time on KOPW. Now this is where the card really started picking up, and business starting to pick up here with the never openweight title match. We had the King, Minoru Suzuki, defeat the Dragon Shingo Takagi, 14 minutes 56 seconds.
Really great match.
Yeah, this was an awesome match. I love this match. I definitely think, you mentioned last week, good call of feeling like these guys could potentially not, throw out like a match of the year contender and save stuff down the line, potentially for a G1 match or just a few down the line. And I definitely feel that was the case. It was a great match, but I definitely feel like there was a whole other level that they held off on. But besides that, it was still a great matchup, and this kind of a great story here of Shingo trying to have to beat Suzuki, and just, Suzuki kind of came in as a brute in this match, and the whole kind of build up, like Suzuki was kind of beating up Shingo and leaving Shingo laying a lot of times, and just kind of, turning up the full sadistic and strong style nature of Suzuki.
Yeah, this match was it's pretty funny. I was watching this match with my girlfriend, and she was very excited for it because these are 2 of her favorite wrestlers in New Japan, or just in general at all. And we're watching it, and she's pretty familiar with both of their work, and like, we're probably like 5 minutes in, 6 minutes in, and she's like, this is okay, but it's not great. And I was like, shh, can you just let them have their match? Like,
let it breathe.
Like, give it time. This is New Japan. Like, it's gonna get there. Just, they're telling a story, okay? And then by the end of it, she's like, wow, that was really great. And I was like, yeah, it was really great. And I thought Suzuki and Takagi had a great match. I agree with you. I didn't think that this was it's funny. I listened to Observer today when he talked about this, and he was like, not quite a match of the year, but right underneath it. I disagree, personally. I think this is in that 4 to 4.25 range, and I think when something's in 4 to 4.25 range, it can't be anywhere close to match of the year. I just think a lot of wrestling fans are so starved for good wrestling that they're willing to like throw accolades on shit that's like, above, the other quality wrestling that we're getting out there. But I liked this match a lot. I thought it was easily the match of the night. I thought these guys worked really hard. I think they've got a better match in them, and I was definitely biting on a lot of the action here. The funny thing is, like, there weren't like a lot of kickouts. This wasn't a match where you saw like bombs and then kickouts and then bombs and kickouts and near falls. This was just kind of a war. These guys were going in there, throwing everything they had, and then once Suzuki hit Shingo with that gotch, I think there's some people who probably thought Shingo was kicking out, but for people that are in the know, it's like that he's not kicking out once he gets hit with gotch.
When he pointed up to the sky, lifted that man up, dropped him on his dome, I was like, that's it. Suzuki's won this.
I was like, who the fuck is he pointing at? But it doesn't matter who it was, because whoever it was, they gave him the strength.
He was pointing to Carl Gotch.
That might be
for the Gotch style pile driver. Seriously.
I know. I'm just laughing because I didn't think of that. Oh my god. Yeah, he it's funny because you've got Shingo, who's like a Dragon Gate guy, and then you got Minoru Suzuki, who's like this I guess he's a New Japan guy, but also like shoot style. And Suzuki is like, oh yeah, you want to talk to me about flips and the speed style? You want to talk to me about T2P? All right, fuck that. Hold this gotch. Lay down. We're in my house. This is Jingu. I'm the king. And the real king of pro wrestling regains the never openweight title for the second time in his career.
Yeah. And the thing I love about this match, like you mentioned, it wasn't like the big move, kick out kind of thing, but it was a lot of great counters. Suzuki going for that sleeper the whole time, and Shingo having to fight out the sleeper and counter out of that, having to counter out the gotch. Suzuki several times countered out of the Last of the Dragon, and there's just a lot of great back and forth counters like that. Suzuki busting up the drop kick. I love Suzuki's drop kick because it comes out of nowhere and he just levels the guy. It was awesome.
Watching that with my girlfriend, when she saw it happen, I was like, oh, I love his drop kick. She's like, that wasn't a drop kick. He just ran and kicked him. He like barely left the air. I was like, yeah, it's like super violent and vicious. It's awesome. It's awesome. And she's like, it's not as good as Okada's. I was like, it's better.
and of course we got the junkyard dog headbutt style spot there.
I saw people really criticizing this, and I only saw this match once. I didn't really think that they were that hard because it's in the open air and you can't hear the sound. I sort of thought they were hitting their thumbs or their hands, but everyone who saw it is saying that they hit head to head very, very hard. So
I don't think that spot they were hitting very hard, but there were some other spots where they were headbutting, and Suzuki did. I heard the clunk. Suzuki hit like a shoot headbutt on this man. All you heard was that clunk, and it like echoed throughout the stadium. I was like, gosh, why are we doing this?
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. So, yeah, absolutely. One really big kick out. Shingo did hit Suzuki with the Made in Japan, right? Yeah, which was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, this match was just these guys went out there, they threw down. They didn't need barbed wire, they didn't need C4, they didn't need a scythe or any explosions. All they needed was their elbows, their fists, their hands, their heads, and violence, and they fucked each other up. And Suzuki was the better man that night, and I loved it. One thing before we move on, R.I.P. to Shingo Takagi's never title reign, which I believe is now the longest title reign in never history. And I heard this past maybe week or so on One Nation Radio, Rich Latta, who vehemently dislikes Cody Rhodes, but was still able to unbiasedly pay tribute to him as having one of the best title reigns in all of wrestling in 2020. Well, I'd like to counter that with, let's talk about Shingo.
The Dragon.
This man took that title off of Hiroki Goto February 1st, New Beginning, in one of the most violent matches of the year. He followed that performance up with a title defense at New Japan Road in February against Tomohiro Ishii in a match that was even better than the match with Goto. And if you haven't seen that post-match with Ishii, you need to go back and rewatch it. It's just incredible. Comes back and has 2 defenses in July, one against Sho, one against Desperado, both stellar. All of these matches around the 4-star or more rating, and then finally his title defense at Jingu against Minoru Suzuki. And so you're talking about 5 big matches, great competitors, great storytelling. That Shingo pretty much elevated the Never title, being like the number 2 title in the company at this point in time. I mean, what Cody's title reign did in terms of story and build and prestige, Shingo kind of eclipsed that with straight up having wars and match quality and just making himself a dominant presence in the company.
Yeah. So we had a question here from our buddy.
Oh, and I'd like to say I think it's the best title reign in wrestling this year.
Yeah, I have to agree. Match quality wise, yeah, elevation wise of the title. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a question here from our buddy Kevin Crawford in Georgia. He says, who would you most like to see challenge Suzuki for the Never title?
Yano.
Oh my gosh.
Who is somebody that you'd like to see? I mean, bro, I'm always down to see Tomohiro Ishii and him fight.
Yeah, him and Ishii, Shingo rematch, him and Goto run it again.
Bro, they're not gonna do it, but I mean, I don't mind. I wouldn't mind seeing him and Nagata run it back.
Oh yeah, do that one more again. Dude, him and Kojima.
Oh shit, yeah, bro. There's a lot you could do here. I didn't like Suzuki's first title run very much. I loved when he dropped the title to Goto, but everything leading up to it, he was having all those really terrible bull rope death matches, and they were just and he was having those terrible lumberjack matches. Like, that sucked. But hopefully this one's better than the last one. So
yeah. So take us to the next matchup here.
So, 4th match of the night. And interesting, we only had 6 matches this night, which, like, I knew that going in. But then once it happened, I was like, man, the show's, like, breezing by, which was kind of nice. But we got the long-awaited, anticipated IWGP Junior Heavyweight title match. The champion, Hiromu Takahashi, defending against the challenger, Taiji Ishimori.
Yes, I freaking love this match. I thought this was a great matchup. Clearly, going in, the story here was Hiromu's injured shoulder. They did the whole angle where he missed a few of the dates on the Summer Struggle tour. With Taiji forcing him to tap out with the Yes Lock, taking him off the tour. Then he came back and obviously coming into this match with the taped up shoulder. And, that was just a big bullseye for Ishimori. And literally, like, beginning of the match, like, this man does a 450 on the arm. Like, that's how you work a body part, RLPW style. And just the work that Ishimori did on Hiromu's arm, it wasn't boring, it wasn't slow. I just thought it was great. He just found innovative ways to attack the arm and the shoulder to build up. Obviously, his finisher is the Yes Lock, and to build into that finish. And Hiromu looked great as well, busting out a lot of his signature spots, having to overcome the arm injury and trying to fight back, getting near falls with the dynamite plunger. He gets a time bomb for a near fall. But and the great story there, it's like his shoulder is not 100%. So, time bomb 1 didn't work. So he tries to go for time bomb 2. And Ishimori is able to counter that. And then I just love that sequence there where Ishimori, he does this inverted bloody cross that targets the arm, and then he goes into the S-lock.
Yeah, that inverted bloody cross was something that I don't think I've seen from Ishimori, or if I have, I didn't recall it up to that point.
I've never seen it.
I thought it was a new move. Well, I mean, in a sense it was, but I almost thought like he was debuting a new, like, maybe even finisher. I was like, oh, fuck, did he just finish him? It almost had that vibe, which was kind of nice. this match was, man, really, really good. Again, high octane, super fast paced. Interesting thing here, 13 minutes and 30 seconds. The Shingo match with Suzuki was only 14:56. Both matches under 15 minutes. So, I mean, the two best matches on the card, and the difference in quality between them is almost negligible. I rated them the exact same amount. And, I mean, we're talking like probably a draw when it comes to which one's better, literally. But this match was something where, like, we've seen them have longer matches. And I think, and you can see how good they can go. And if they had been given maybe 5, 6, 7 more minutes, who knows? We might even be talking about an even greater match, possibly. Mm-hmm. But they maximized their time at 13 minutes and 30 seconds. Like you mentioned, Ishimori just really targeting the shoulder injury. And in fact, it kind of reminded me of the match that I recommended to you the other week. Obviously, it's a more modern and fast-paced style, but kind of similar in tone and style to the Liger and Sano match from 1989.
Yeah.
Like, very similar. And Hiromu is just a madman here. Even though he's, like, selling this shoulder, he's still doing these crazy dives to the outside, to the inside, just – trying to inflict pain wherever he can, but Ishimori just outplans him, outpaces him. I loved that this match never really slowed down. Like, they just continuously kept at their pace, and, like, you kind of thought, like, it was going to, like, be a hot start, but then slow down and then pick up later. And now they just kind of kept at a very steady pace for 13 minutes, and then it just ended very abruptly, but, it was plausible for a guy like Hiromu to have the need to tap out with how much work Ishimori did to the shoulder and the effectiveness of his finishing hold. And I really enjoyed the story and the match that they told here. I thought this match was excellent.
Yeah. Also, I loved as a part of the arm work, Ishimori busting out La Mystica, and using that as a setup to try to work to the arm there. And so that was kind of a cool little setup there as well. And of course, we got some flat neck bumps with Hiromu and Ishimori with some German exchanges there. But yeah, so overall, really great match. For me personally, this was my match of the night. I liked it a smidge better than Suzuki and Shingo. But like you said, both matches were great. Like either match, either or. Like you can't really be wrong picking one of those matches as your match of the night.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm probably like 4.25 on both.
Nice. I'm 4.25 on the Shingo and Suzuki, and I'm 4.5 on the Hiromu and Ishimori.
Too high. Yeah, so take us to the semi-main event here.
Yeah, so semi-main, we had the IWGP Tag Team title match. We had the Dangerous Tekkers, the current champions, Tai Chi and Zack Sabre Jr., taking on the team of Golden Ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kota Ibushi. Obviously, these guys have been feuding for months now. We know it started even before the pandemic, and it picked right back up when they came back into action. And just the story that they've been telling with, Dangerous Tekkers kind of being dominant and Ibushi and Tanahashi having issues, and Tanahashi kind of being the weak link of the Golden Ace team here. And they had some kind of miscommunication issues, and Dangerous Tekkers was trying to get Ibushi to join Suzuki Gun and join them and leave Tanahashi, but ultimately, finally going to stick with Tanahashi. And Tanahashi kind of got his mojo back towards the last few shows of the Summer Struggle tour. They were winning their multi-man matches. He looked in incredible shape. He looks like he's in G1 shape, and obviously G1's around the corner. I mean, he looked great shape. He had great gear coming for this show. And so he kind of got his groove back. And so we went into this match thinking, all right, the Ace is back, and, Ibushi's on his game. So these guys are getting the titles back.
Yeah, I saw the tweet that you sent out from our group, or from our Twitter account, kind of complaining about the the mashup of music that they did for Tanahashi and Ibushi.
Oh my gosh, it was horrible. dude. Because
And you didn't co-sign it by saying that it was Jeremy or JD or whoever, So people could have easily believed that it was my opinion, because I am 100% in disagreement with you.
really,
Yeah, 100%.
you like that?
No, I didn't like it, but I like it for storyline reasons, because it made the fact that they didn't win here more like important. Like, okay, first off, I didn't hate the music. Like, I think you were a little too rough on it. Like, you made it sound like it was like the worst thing you ever heard, and it's like it was way better than most of the music you hear in WWE when they do that shit.
I don't know. To me, it was just I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. You had just the way they transition into both themes. It's just like on WWE where two random people start teaming together. Oh, Asuka, Kairi saying, all right, let's just randomly blend their musics together, fade one in, fade one out. Personally, like, I agree with you that yes, it was kind of a great storytelling element. They got this new music, so you're like, all right, they're going to invest in them as a long-term team.
Yes, exactly. As soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, they're trying to make, like, you brought up all the great points. Like, both of these guys, well, and one thing you didn't mention was they looked incredible. Like,
Yeah.
Tanahashi has, like, trimmed down. Like, I don't know how he does it. Like, I tried my whole life to, like, his genetics are insane. Like, the muscle memory, I don't know. But, like, he's just, like, freaking shredded. He's got his abs. Ibushi's looking incredible. They just look like $1 million. Then you're right. Like, they were winning all of their matches in the build up to this, and it was like they were back. And every time Dangerous Tekkers tried to get the better of them, they were besting them. Which, like, I don't know, man. To me, that's always a telltale sign that, like, these guys are not winning.
Right.
But, like, I listened to, like, Observer, and, like, Dave, like, bit hook, line, and sinker. Like, he thought they were winning based off that shit, and he's been watching this forever.
And and last week we predicted, we were like, this is the one match where the title's gonna retain the champions.
Right. And funny thing too, my girlfriend, like, her two favorite guys are Shingo and Hiromu, and they both lost their titles, and she's like, this show sucks. It's pretty funny.
And
but when they came out with the new gear and the new music, I was like, oh, they're for sure losing. And it's awesome because they're making you as an audience member believe, like, oh, Golden Aces are gonna ride forever. This is for real. We are investing in them long term.
You know what this was? That was a Y2AJ.
Yeah, Y2AJ. Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna print these shirts, make you think we're building this long-term tag team.
Yeah, it would have been smart. See, that's the difference between AEW and New Japan. AEW knows when they can capitalize on a good shirt. They just call up freaking Pro Wrestling Tees, send them a design, and they sell that shit out like, a week before it's not even going to be relevant anymore. And New Japan needs to start doing that, because they could have easily had some incredible Golden Ace merch, and now it's like probably done. Like, they fucked up.
Yeah, they need to get their stuff, the merch game up there.
But yeah, I didn't love the music, although I thought it was better than you made it out to be. But I was excited when I saw this happen, because I thought it was an incredible story element. And then, the match was good. I would say almost great. I personally don't know that I liked it better than the match where Dangerous Tekkers won the belts. Mm-hmm. But I might be in the minority with that. Seems like people really, really dug this match quite a bit.
Yeah, I can't remember what I rated the first title match. I feel like I was like 4.25 maybe on that title match. But this match, I was flat 4 stars. I enjoyed this match a lot, and it's another one of those things. This match only went 16 minutes. I feel maybe if they had a few more minutes, maybe they could have kicked it into a higher gear. But one thing I did love, a part of the story of this match was, in the build-up into the first match, we saw how they were targeting Tanahashi's knees, and the finish of that match, how Sabre had just wrecked Tanahashi's knees that led to the finish. But, the build-up to this match, Tanahashi did the dragon screws to Sabre in the build-up to this match. So Sabre came up with a taped knee. So that was another kind of indicator, like, oh, well, now Sabre has the weak legs. Maybe that's going to be what causes them Golden Ace to win. And that was a target for Tanahashi in the match to go after the legs, but it didn't work out for them to get the win.
Another off-subject comment about my girlfriend. Just because I think her views on New Japan are so comical. So like she's like, I hate Zack Sabre Jr. And I'm like, why? She's like, the way he wrestles is disgusting. He just rolls around on the ground and just puts people into disgusting holds that nobody wants to see, and just wears these tight little underwear. They don't even fit over his butt.
Well,
I'm like, he's the greatest wrestler in the world, like technically. She's like, I know, I've heard.
Well, I can't blame her. I used to hate Sabre for quite some time, and then finally my eyes were open to the greatness.
He's a badass, bro.
But yeah, this match, great back and forth here. And then eventually kind of coming down, Tanahashi just being the one once again, kind of getting worked down here by Taichi and Sabre. And we kind of saw a spot here where, like we mentioned with the knees, where Tanahashi and Ibushi were going to do that similar kind of dragon screw spot that Sabre and Taichi did to them in the previous match. They were running wild. They were hitting the golden blades, which is like a backdrop into final cut kind of maneuver. They were hitting those. Taichi brings out the iron glove to try and take out Ibushi. Ibushi hits a high kick, and then they're kind of brawling back and forth. And then Tanahashi hits the standing high fly flow, goes for the regular high fly flow, misses. Taichi jumps in, and then they hit the Mephisto Zack driver and got the win.
Yeah, they got it clean. They tried to cheat, but they were cut off. I think what was really awesome about this match was that it seemed so often that even though Dangerous Tekkers were like doing a lot of their like dirty plays and devious work and everything of that nature, they never kept the heat for too long, because the Golden Aces kept like being a step ahead of them, able to go toe-to-toe with them, able to keep pace with them, and able to kind of outthink them and cut them off and, get major shine sequences over and over and over again. And this this trend continued all the way down to the end until that moment that you mentioned where Taichi got the Iron Claw, and it looked like this traditionally would have been where most New Japan matches kind of end, like interference, ref bump, someone uses a foreign object, it leads to a finish. But the Aces kind of threw that shit out the garbage and were like, we're running this. And you're like, oh my God, they're going to do it. And then at that point I was like, maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're overthinking this. And like, they really are. Like, I started to believe for a second. And then he hit the first high fly flow and you're like, oh, the Ace is doing it. Like, this is it. And then he didn't. And then they beat him clean. And it's like, oh, wow, like Dangerous Tekkers are for real, for real. They might have cheated a lot on the way up to here, but like when the big lights came on and the big show was there and the pressure was on them and it hurts inside, they did what they had to do. And they put away the Ace 1, 2, 3, and they proved that they are currently the best tag team in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
What a concept. Heels win a match clean.
Sometimes when they need to, not always, but sometimes when it's important, and they did. And it was very emphatic. There was a moment though where Zack had Tanahashi in just a really, really, really nasty submission hold, and Kota Ibushi came into the ring and he had the murder Kota look on his face, but he really took his time getting there to like save Tanahashi. And I'm not saying that's for sure foreshadowing, but it almost kind of felt like I don't know. Maybe I'm just reading into it. Maybe he just like played the spot a little wrong, but like his pace was just really slow. Did you notice that?
I didn't pick up on that.
He got the murder Kota look on his face, and then he's just staring at him. And I'm like, dude, your boy's about to tap. Like, he's the legal man. And
okay, I'm visualizing that spot now. Okay, yeah.
And like Kobushi took a long time getting there. And I'm not saying that like he was trying to lose or anything, but like maybe it is a little foreshadowing to the idea that we brought up that maybe there will be a feud between these two guys. I don't know. But even if there's not, one thing I loved about this match was the kick sequences between Kota Ibushi and Taichi.
Yes, and that's something they've been doing pretty much since they've come back from pandemic, because they faced off in New Japan Cup, and then obviously this whole feud of Techers and Aces, like that's been one of the great things, like the kick exchanges between Taichi and Ibushi.
Yeah, so overall, just it's been a long time since we've had a show where we had 3 back-to-back truly great matches. And that's what we got here, was 3 great matches, and it was awesome. And one thing I loved was the timing and the pacing of the show. There are times where I'm kind of critical with the way they pace out New Japan shows, but this one just seemed to be perfect. Like, the early matches got like 7 minutes. The 2 mid-card matches got like 13 to 14 minutes. The semi-main event got like 16, and then we're going to talk about the main event got like 26 minutes. It didn't overstay its welcome, and this is a breeze of a show to watch, and it was really great.
Yeah. So we got 2 questions here about this match. So first from sumo_cerebro says, which of the Golden Aces will turn on the other first? They have constantly come up short against the dangerous Techers, and betrayal has been hinted at for a while.
Well, it does seem like I don't remember where I heard this, but I think it was maybe the press conference where they mentioned that both members of the Golden Aces are going to put their tag team on hiatus while they focus on singles and the G1, and we'll maybe come back together down the road later.
Yeah, interesting comments there, and yeah, I'm not sure quite how they're going to set it up, but it definitely feels like it's going to lead to, like we were talking about last week, the big Wrestle Kingdom 15 match between these guys, and maybe they're in the same block, or maybe not, or maybe one person gets more points than the other one, and they're set in separate blocks, and that's kind of like a starting point to it. But whatever's going to happen, I feel like the G1 is going to be the catalyst of them actually ending up feuding instead of getting back together.
I think that is definitely a possibility. And I don't know if we can even completely call it. I mean, what is a feud? Is it going to be like just a series of matches, or is it going to be like we are enemies? So it's hard to say.
Right. Next question here from @YasSamWeller. Where does Kota Ibushi go from here? Is this the long storyline to finally elevate him above a tag team and settle Tanahashi into dad status? Or will Tana redefine what NJPW dad is, and Ibushi continues to flounder for mid-card titles?
Well, we've talked about the whole dad conundrum over the past, in the past, and even last week I spoke on it. The one thing I will say, when it comes to New Japan and someone being quote unquote a dad, I think it really just depends on what do you have left to offer? Because clearly, if we're talking about anyone who should be a dad at this point, then Minoru Suzuki should be a dad. But he's not, because he's able to reinvent himself, keep himself marketable, fresh, exciting, and draw money and be a big-time player.
Yeah, and have great matches.
Yeah, and have great matches. And that's something that Tanahashi is still doing. And I'm not saying Tanahashi is ever going to headline the Tokyo Dome again. He might, but I don't anticipate it personally. And I'm not saying he's going to win G1s, but I don't think we're ready for him to have his final G1 yet. And I don't think we're ready to see him tagging with Wato in the opening matches. Like, we're not ready for that. And it's not because of his age or his ability or anything like that. It has to do with the fact that he's a star. And he still draws money, and he still sells merch, and he can still go, and he's probably in the same vein as like 92, 93 Flair at this point.
Right. Yeah.
He's not 95 Flair yet, but he's not far from there. That being the case, as far as like Ibushi, I think, in my opinion, we talked about how like he's been on this year-long trajectory since the Tokyo Dome. I can only hope and pray that this is leading to an actual logical booking that builds him over the course of the year. And we kind of laid out a scenario last week. I don't know if it was me or you, but one of us mentioned the idea that this could cause friction between him and Tanahashi and be the impetus for a feud between them so that he ascends above Tanahashi and becomes, a top guy. I don't know if that's what's happening, but I hope something like that happens. sometimes New Japan, they start feuds and then things just peter out and it doesn't lead anywhere. And I hope that's not what happens here.
Yeah, I just feel like there's been so much invested with this, with the whole Golden Ace run and all the promos and all the angles that they've been doing. I feel like it's going to lead somewhere.
You would think that, but then G1 comes around, and when G1 comes around, all bets are off.
Yeah. I guess we'll see what happens with the blocks.
You know, G1 comes around, and you just, who knows what that can turn everything on its head, change all the booking decisions. Like, it's almost like a fresh start every time the G1 shows up.
Yeah. All right, it's time for the main event. Take us there, Josh.
Oh my God! No, I'm just playing. I know people are probably ready for us to like tear this thing apart, or maybe not ready for it. People are probably like expecting it, but I don't really have much to say. It was a good match. Was not by any means a great match, and there were some problems with the match. But overall, it was a good main event. And Naito is your double champion again.
Yeah, you didn't even throw in the intro of the match, man. Yeah, so yeah, double title match here for IWGP Heavyweight title, Intercontinental title. Naito defeats Evil with Dick Togo. And so, yeah, it wasn't, obviously it wasn't your, IWGP main event, classic banger. It wasn't a match of the year contender, but for what they were trying to do, it was fun. It was a good little match.
I mean, it's kind of not fine because it's the IWGP title. But, I mean, I'm going to give it the pass because it was so much better than what we got at Dominion.
Yes.
Which was truly horrendous.
Yeah, this match was definitely better than the Dominion match.
This, however, was not as good as Evil and Hiromu.
Correct.
For reference. But they went out there, they had a match, they told their story. LIJ Marks probably loved it. Evil Marks probably loved it. I don't know. There were some significant botches in the match. Some sequences that got messed up, especially when it came to the interference and the ref bumps with Red Shoes, and they kind of like messed up the timing, and Red Shoes didn't get bumped, so Evil had to throw him into some exposed turnbuckle to kind of like save the spot. There was a point towards the end of the match where Naito and Evil started going into your traditional New Japan like fast-paced series of counters and counters to counters and that sort of thing. So it's going to lead into big match finishing sequence, and they were in the middle of it, and like I don't know who fucked up, whether it was Naito or Evil, but one of them messed up, and the move, just whatever it was gonna be, it looked really fucked up, and Chris Charlton like tried to call it Valencia, but it clearly was not Valencia. So there were some mistakes, but 26 minutes, the match wasn't too long. It didn't overstay its welcome. There was some interference, but given the story that they've told, the interference actually kind of made sense. Luckily, you had guys like Bushi and I believe was Sonata the other one?
Yes.
Who kind of made the save against Dick Togo and who was it, Gato?
Yeah, Gato, and I think Jado was out there too.
Oh, okay. So they kind of made the play to save Naito from all the Bullet Club geeks and goons, and Naito showed why he's the better man against Evil. Very reminiscent of the storyline they did with Naito when he was the champion going against Okada. And, it was a real feel-good moment at the end because Evil was vanquished. Naito stands tall. He's tranquilo. You get the golden roll call. He loves baseball. They're in a baseball field. There's a bunch of fireworks.
You got the big fireworks. Yeah, overall.
Although those were nowhere near the level of like say Saudi fireworks or even just regular Wednesday night Cody pyro fireworks, but they were pretty good. And yeah, sent the show off happy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the key element there was the interference, because the whole thing with LIJ, they had this whole like respect thing where like no matter what, like even if we're getting beat up like 10-on-1, like don't come help me because I got to overcome it. And so that's why that was their cover up for why they never, run out and save each other. But this time, Sonata and Bushi were like, nah, we can't let our boy get his head bust like this again. And so they finally ran out, made a save, even the playing fields, which allowed Naito to conquer evil.
Bro, social suplex, we do not have that code. If I'm getting my ass handed to me, one of y'all, somebody, needs to come help me. The fuck? Terrible friends.
All right.
I don't know, man. One thing I want to say, very interesting, is like, now's not the time to do it, but down the road, we got a lot of questions about Evil and his title reign and where it fits in history and everything like that. And it's like that Okada match, that the two Naito matches and the Hiromu match. I don't know, man. We'll talk about it when we start comparing it to history.
Yeah.
Some of us is right, which is me, and everyone else is wrong. No, I'm just playing, but I don't know. I mean, what were any final thoughts on this match? I know we got questions, but
yeah, I mean, not really much to add. You hit all of the points there, and yeah, I thought it was better than Dominion. It wasn't super long, didn't extend its welcome. Great way to end the show. Nice way to kind of tie this little story up, and yeah.
One thing I wished deep down, I wished I would have been proven wrong, where they would have gone out there and like had that banger.
Yeah.
I am at the point where I don't think Naito can do that really as much anymore. I think he might be able to pull it out once or twice in a G1 with the right guy, maybe on a Wrestle Kingdom or a Big Dominion show. But other than that, I don't know, man. That man might be washed.
Yeah, them knees are cooked.
Those knees are cooked.
All right, let's go into these questions. So starting off from Reddit user Dirty Bubble. Is it a kind of revenge that Sonata is violently removing the dick of his former tag team partner? And might that mean he's aligning himself with Taka Michinoku and joining Suzuki-gun? By the way, props for the great show and sorry for the stupid question.
That's pretty funny. The only thing I don't understand. Okay. Oh, I get it because
the Kayan triangle. Choppy.
PP. This is one of the best questions we've ever had. We're not really the dick joke New Japan podcast, but we will be this week.
Yeah. It all works out. Long-term booking, long-term storytelling.
So basically, there's a very, very long connection over many, many decades between Val Venus and Evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that mean we're gonna get old Sean Morley showing up?
Bro, I hope Sean Morley shows up on Strong. Comes out, he's like, "Hello, ladies," and there's no one in the crowd.
Hello, Kevin. Oh my gosh. Great.
I need you all to stop fetishizing Japanese wrestling and pay attention to the Big Val Boski.
Oh man. Great question, Dirty Bubble.
I saw one time I was in this thrift store and I saw this WWE Attitude Era cookbook, and one of the this is like a 100% shoot. One of the recipes was the Big Valboski's kielbasa.
Yeah, I remember seeing the advertisement for that.
I was like, who the fuck would make this or eat this?
Oh my gosh. Next question.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So Rambone Slam Pig asked, he said, how do you compare the two Naito Evil matches? I like the second much more from an in-ring perspective, even though the shenanigans were still a bit much. Agreed. For an IWGP Heavyweight title match, in my opinion, the aesthetics of the finish and post-match in front of the crowd in that stadium did pop me as a fan.
Yeah, totally agree with Rambones. I thought this match was better than the first match. Did have a lot of shenanigans for an IWGP Heavyweight title match, but clearly they were not playing to wrestle that style of match. And like we mentioned, the interference actually play into the story based on what they were doing. And yeah, the closing shots of Naito posing in the Jingu night with the fireworks going off, it was a great kind of closing visual there.
It's true. Everything you're saying is true, Jeremy, but was it worth it to get there?
No.
That's my thing. You know, I think there are people who are going to point to the end result and be like, you see, you idiots, you marks, you got worked by the master booker because he booked all this. Obviously, it was really all to get Naito to this moment, you know, so we could all enjoy this moment, blah, blah. It's a story. Just sit back and enjoy the story. And I'm like, yeah, man, but I had to watch all these tag matches with Evil and Gato, and I had to watch all these 6-man tags, and I had to watch like the rise of Evil. Like, it was rough, bro. It's been rough. It's been a rough couple. I understand they've had some things going against them, but bro, with Evil at the top, it's been rough in New Japan, literally.
Yeah.
So like, no, I don't think it was worth it. And yeah, I agree. I think this match was better, but I think if we sat down and we played that game, we won't do it this week, but if we sat down and played that game and we compared this IWGP title match to all the other IWGP title matches of the last 5 or 6 years, I don't think people would really like the results.
Yeah, we'll save that for down the road.
Yeah.
Next question here from Reddit user Ginger Ninja 666.
Oh, and the reason I'm saying that is because 3.25 matches have no place headlining IWGP title match shows.
Amen to that, brother.
Yeah.
So Reddit user Ginger Ninja 666, having been along for the Evil experiment ride like everybody else, I still find some of the criticism he gets for his ring work confusing. Evil clearly hasn't been wrestling the same style that he wrestled before his heel turn. Evil was never an amazing top-tier wrestler, but he also never used to do more illegal moves than legal ones in a match like we're seeing him do now.
Not true.
That feels like a decision of the booking rather than his in-ring skill. Everything Evil does builds towards something carefully planned interference or cheating spot, more so than even Jay White's matches. It feels like most people would be hampered by restrictions like that. They were telling a very particular story with Evil, and while I agree with that story wasn't that good, I'm also not sure what Evil himself could have done to make it better. The biggest knock against him that I've taken from this whole run is that he's not someone who can make just anything work. I fully admit that I'm probably missing a lot of things that a more experienced reviewer of wrestling could pick up on, so I guess my question is, what is Evil doing wrong performance-wise that can't be put down to the booking or match layout?
So I think Ginger Ninja 666, you bring up some good points. You bring up some points that I do disagree with. So the idea that he never used more cheating tactics is not accurate, although in recency it is accurate. LIJ was a heel team once upon a time before they became kind of like heel-leaning tweeners, you know?
Right.
And so, yes, Watanabe absolutely used more cheating tactics back then. One thing he said here, he said, everything Evil does builds towards some carefully planned interference or cheating spot, more so than Jay White matches. I would disagree with that. Jay White's matches used to point to heel interference from his heater, which is Gato. They still do from time to time, but the reality is they strengthened him as a character in a kayfabe sense, and he doesn't always need that as much as he did when he first became the leader of the Bullet Club. But I think that when he was doing it, if you want my honest opinion, it was better. In fact, objectively, it was way better than anything Evil's doing.
Yeah,
and we were tearing that shit apart too.
Yeah, I don't think Jay had anything as low as Evil's had.
Bro, what was that first G1 where he was doing that shit and he beat Okada and Tanahashi the first 2 nights out? That
was 2018?
2018, yeah. And we were talking so much shit about how horrible his G1 run was. Evil's title run makes me wish for the days of Jay White's G1 2018 run, literally. So No, I don't think he does it better than Jay White did it, because they're doing in fact, he was doing a cosplay of what Jay White does and not as good. I do think part of it is because he wasn't ready for it, or maybe even
he wasn't ready.
I don't know. The long and short of it is Evil, and I've said this to many people before, and I've said it in the show, and I'll just say it. The concise answer is Evil's not the right guy. I actually think the story they told was really good. I think that the idea of what they were trying to do was a good idea. Get over a talent at a perfect time when striking the iron was the perfect time to do that, when things were hot. There was a certain amount of convergence of different things that were like transpiring, with COVID, no fans, lack of stars in the area, especially with the Bullet Club in particular. This is the right time to make somebody and to do it. I just fully 100% believe Evil is not the right guy, because like you mentioned in your post here, or your question, you said Evil never was that great a worker. That is what I've been saying all along. He was never that great a worker. So it's like, what could he do to make this work better? Well, he could be a better worker, but he can't just magically do that after all these years, because he's already proven to us that he's not that good a worker. So what could they have done differently? Pick someone else. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the people that are like, well, it makes the most sense because he was the number one guy that came in with Naito and he was the first one. Sure. Well, maybe Naito picked wrong and maybe Dato picked wrong. And all you who attached your wagons to this, you jumped on the bandwagon when Evil came out. I'm telling you, you picked wrong. And history is not going to smile kindly on those who loved the Evil run. So, I mean, yeah, there's not much he could have done wrong. There's plenty of heels in the history of wrestling who've had similar kind of bookings or match layouts. In fact, in the Bullet Club specifically, Devitt, Styles, Omega, Jay White, they all did this shit better than Evil. So, no, it's not the booking. It's not the interference. It's not all that shit. It's him. He's not good. Yeah, that's it.
Man, you stole my points, man. That's exactly how I was going to bring up the other Bullet Club leaders. But one other thing I want to bring up, too, somebody sent us this tweet from Craig from ProWrestlingMusings.com, at CraigPWMusings on Twitter. Does a lot of stats for wrestling. And so he says that Evil hit 18 moves in total in this match. However, he also committed 23 fouls. He used more illegal offense than legal offense. He's never seen this before. Not even close.
I don't know if I could agree with that, because, I mean, I think that there's been plenty of guys who have done that. But when I say that, I'm thinking of the Sheik, the original Sheik Farhat. I'm thinking of, like, Tiger Jeet Singh. I'm thinking of Abdullah the Butcher. I'm thinking of, like, the classic, like, rule breakers of all time. But, those guys were more menacing. They were able to actually get heat. They didn't need heaters. Guys who cheat that much don't need heaters because they get the heat themselves.
Great point.
Can you imagine Abdullah the Butcher needing a heater? Get the fuck out of here. That's the problem. Evil can't get heat.
Yeah, had to surround him with a bunch of heaters.
Man, fuck Evil. He sucks.
They had to give him the master heater.
Oh, my God.
So take us to the next question.
That's a great stat, though. Oh, my God. Where are we? So,
Houday42.
Houday42 asked us, he said, I understand that certain people on this podcast were not fans of the Evil Experiment. My question is, now that we know the beginning, middle, and end of the reign, and even with your feelings on his in-ring work, don't you think it was a better choice for Evil to win the belts than, say, Naito defending the belts twice successfully? I feel that there was at least a compelling narrative, and Naito got to triumph again in a really cool way.
So, two things here. So, first, like we just mentioned in the last question, they want to tell a story of Naito quickly losing the title. They want to make somebody new. they want to build to this whole, mini redemption arc and with Jingu with fireworks and Naito winning the titles back. They could have done that story. They could have done the exact same story, but like you said, they picked the wrong guy. You could have had somebody else that could have been just as compelling, had better matches, and you still could have got to the same endpoint. Then on the other hand, if Naito had kept the belt and kept defending, I mean, who's to say that couldn't have been better? Like, we don't know who he would have gone against. Maybe he would have faced off against better opponents and could have had maybe 2 or 3 better double title matches down the road.
Yeah, man, they got Naito looking like a whole hoe out here. Literally, this man can't hold on to the belt. He's got 2 title wins, 2 title defenses ever historically, and lost the title back twice. So now he's at his 3rd title win in history. And it's like, it's cool that you've held the belt 3 times, but you don't want to be that guy who got hot-shotted to you the first 2 times, The only good thing about this for the Naito fans out there, it makes it more plausible, hypothetically, that he might have a lengthy title run after the fact. But I don't know, with the way his knees are looking, the way his body's looking, the way his wrestling is, I'm not so confident about that. So maybe it would have been better to let him have a lengthy run. I mean, why can't he have a blood feud? Why can't he have 2 title defenses against 2 challengers that were – I'll tell you what, everyone who's like, oh, this was so compelling, it was so good. Man, I like that Kenta shit way more than this Evil shit, and I didn't even like the Kenta match at all. So that tells you how good the storyline really was. The only good thing about it was that Evil's got some cool hair, some cool gear, and some cool music, and maybe we got something to look forward to down the line, hypothetically, if Jay White can ever get back into the country. Maybe. But these matches, I'll never rewatch this match.
Yeah, neither will I.
And I'll always look back and think that they shouldn't have put the title on Evil.
Yeah.
And here's my last point. You brought up what we call false dichotomy. You said either Naito defends the belt twice or Evil gets the belt, and then, those are your only 2 options. What about the 3rd option that Jeremy brought up? Anybody else. Because that does exist. And when you're booking pro wrestling, you can do whatever the fuck you want because it's make-believe. So, yeah, I think they should
calm down, pal.
Else.
Don't expose the business on this podcast.
It's not make-believe. I shouldn't say that. But they should have booked it different. Because long-term, I'm telling you, regardless of how quote-unquote successful this little story was, you cannot draw money with Watanabe. And you are not going to put butts in seats with this guy, and you are not going to have great matches with him. So what are we really doing?
Yeah. So next question here from @Oscar Rooney on Twitter. Was the Evil and Naito feel-good ending story, even though the wrestling wasn't good, was what fans needed during these times?
Maybe, but what I feel like the fans really needed was that really, really great Shingo Suzuki match and that really, really great Ishimori and Hiromu match. That felt like what the fans need. Also, the really great tag team match. Those were the things that the fans needed. I mean, I do think the fans need Evil to get his ass off the title, which was great. And the fireworks didn't hurt, but other than that, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, the story, the idea was good. It was not executed well.
Man, if they would have told this story, okay, let me just put it in perspective for you. And there's going to be holes in this. It's not perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than what we got. If you told that story with Shingo, we'd be talking about one of the most classic all-time feuds in the history of New Japan. We'd be talking about 5-star matches. We'd be talking about how these people were able to get it done in the middle of a pandemic. And we'd be talking about how they're the promotion of the year, the feud of the year, match of the year candidates. Instead, we got fucking Watanabe. And I know that people who are like, well, I really wanted the Suzuki match and we're not ready for that. And, that doesn't totally make sense. And it's like, no, fuck that. If they turned Shingo, if Shingo been the guy, bro, can you imagine? Oh my God.
And a lot of people, they say, it made more sense for Evil because he was the first guy that he picked. Actually, wouldn't it make more sense for Shingo to turn so he's the guy has the least amount of time in LIJ?
Yeah, and also he's got more history with Naito anyways because they came up through Animal Hamaguchi together. And he's not really LIJ. He's an outsider anyways. And he's been feeling like an outsider since he got in the shit.
So yeah, that...
Also, like there are people who oh God, I forgot what my point was. I had a really, really good point. I don't know what it was. Oh, I know what it was. There's people who are going to be like, oh, well, it made more sense to go with Evil because there's no crowd. So now's the perfect time to do it. Why? If you got to hide the guy with the fact that there's no crowd because you can't draw money with him, you're just praying to God.
That's a problem.
Maybe. Yeah. But I guarantee you, if you went with Shingo now, it would pay dividends later. And maybe they still will. But I'm just telling you, it would have been a better story. And it would have been better matches. And I would have liked all the multi-man matches that they ran in Cork and Hall a lot better. Make my life a lot easier. That's all I'm saying. I just want to enjoy the wrestling that I'm watching. That's all.
How dare you?
Crazy.
How dare you?
God damn! Fucking Evil on my screen. Can't draw a dime. Eyeliner wearing motherfucker.
Oh man.
Can I do a Jim Cornette impersonation? Is enough time pass? Or no?
Nah.
All right.
Next question from Sir Sam. He says, "What is next for Evil? He won that big one, but now the follow-up begins."
The G1. He'll probably win the IWGP title again at some point.
Unfortunately.
Maybe, I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, next we got New Japan Road coming up, and then we got G1. So, he's still facing off against LIJ and multi-mans on New Japan Road, and then we got G1. So that's kind of what's on the horizon for him. And I guess depending on what he does in G1, that's going to probably set up his Wrestle Kingdom match.
He will, my early prediction, he will be in one of the A or B block finals of the G1. Yeah. That's what's next for him.
Yeah.
Oh, and whatever block he's in is gonna suck.
So he's gonna be in the A block.
Get ready for the A block to suck with Evil in it. Trust me. How much, bro? All right, listen. Here's how confident I feel about this. What do I have to give you if Evil doesn't have a single 4.5-star match the entire G1?
I don't know.
Let's place a bet here. Let's do a bet. Now, if I'm wagering to you, do you think that he's going to have 10 matches, right?
Yeah. Well, he'll have 9 matches. 9.
Do you think out of his 9 matches that he will have, do you want to take this bet? Because I'm saying he will not have, let's bring it down, 4.25. I'll say that this man, I'll make it even sweeter for you. This man's not having a 4.25-star match or higher the whole tournament. You want to take those odds?
Not one at all.
Not one.
Oh man.
Because what I'm saying sounds really plausible. You don't even want to take this bet.
But I'm not really a betting man.
All right, we won't do it. But I feel like this might be fun, but it's fine.
I'm sure we could find somebody in the network.
Nope, it has to be you.
Can I pull a Roman Reigns and wait to sign the bet right before G1 starts?
Yeah. We'll talk about it week after week on the show. Have you given my proposition any more thoughts, Jeremy?
And then I'll hire Rich to be my advocate, and then
I might lower it to 4. I don't know. We'll see.
Rich will be my advocate. He'll go over the bet with me for weeks, and then right before the first night of G1 is when I'll make my decision whether I'm going to make the bet.
All right. Next question from Maple Leaf Wrestling History Podcast at MLW History Pod. He said, "Is Gato using the IWGP title in hopes to make fan register guys like Evil and Jay White as main event status talent. I think about when Nakamura won the belt prematurely, and that didn't really help him. And to a lesser extent, the same for Okada's first reign.
Well, I think, yes, clearly that the idea is to elevate somebody when you're putting your heavyweight title on them, especially the IWGP heavyweight title. I think that it did a better job for Jay White over Evil and building to that Madison Square Garden show. And I think Jay White came off more of a star from that title run and that feud, and it's a main event guy. I can see him as a main event guy, whereas it did not do that for Evil.
Well, with the IWGP title, you've got the long lineage of the history of the title, but then you also have the short-term lineage, which means like the cachet that it's built up over, say, the last 7 or 8 years, as opposed to the whole entire length of it, Mm-hmm. And when I say that, it kind of means like they sort of undid a lot of the bad will that was done in the mid 2000s, So it's not exactly the same thing as what happened with Nakamura, although that's a good point. I would disagree with the Okada one because I think they had similar booking to Okada here, but I mean, Okada proved he was such an aficionado that, like, sure, he wasn't the star he is today, but he definitely got over, off of that. But the reason I bring up the long-term lineage and the short-term lineage is because they have been able to prove that when they put the title on somebody, given the prestige of the title in the short term, that it does elevate the guy to a certain degree. It shows that we are truly believing this guy. We truly have faith in him, and he's a big deal. And it tells you, it's a signal to you that he is a big deal. That's what happened with Jay White. And I know that there is a segment of fans who that didn't fully translate for, but I think most diehard fans, if you go on any like New Japan message board, you go on any like Facebook group or website, people are clamoring for Jay White to come back. Like, it's a big deal. Almost as much as they want Ospreay back, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Ospreay might have a lot less goodwill given everything that happened over there, but it didn't work with Evil. I don't think. That's just my opinion. I think that that whole thing with like the belt making the man, that might have been true for some guys, but like for Evil, it just didn't. Like, and it's the one time where like, a lot of people are like, oh well, now's the perfect time to put the title on him because it's COVID. I think that might have actually backfired. It's like, oh, you're only putting the belt on him because it's COVID, which tells me I shouldn't believe in this guy, which we didn't to begin with. And I'm sure that there are people who support him. There are people who are fans of him and liked this story. But I don't think that it's the same cachet as it was when they tried to go with Okada or when they went with Naito in 2015 or when they went with Jay White recently. Those are the most recent situations I can think of where they did, in the past decade, short-term first title reigns to establish a guy. And it worked with Okada, and it worked with Naito, and it did work with Jay White. I don't think it's going to work with Evil.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure people say, well, let's see what happens next. And yeah, we'll see what happens next, but yeah, I just don't think that it worked.
You can say, let's see what happens next, but you didn't feel like you needed to say, let's see what happens next when it came to Okada or when it came to Jay White or when it came to Naito. And those are the three most recent, versions I can kind of give to you. So also with AJ Styles, you didn't really have to say that either, even though his was kind of a failure too. So, I mean, 4 guys right there. Boom, boom, boom. So.
Next question here from Stale Burger Bun. When is my boy Evil getting another run with the big belt?
Who knows? I mean, I don't know. The hard part there is maybe he will, but I mean, you've got guys like obviously Shingo,
Ospreay,
Okada,
Jay
still
White,
Naito, Ibushi. That whole thing, we used to get questions all the time. People would say like, "Who's next to get a title run that's never held it?" We'd name a bunch of names, and Evil was never one of them. Well, I still would name all those names above Evil even at this point. So I don't know. I'm not saying it's impossible. It is definitely possible. Once you've had the belt, the chances you hold it a second time are a lot higher. But I don't know. Chono only held the belt once.
I'll say this: he ain't winning it again this year.
No, not this year. The earliest it could possibly be is next year. If I was giving you the earliest case scenario, new beginning-ish time.
That's
period.
exactly what I was thinking. February, March, like right before like New Japan Cup or something.
But let's pray to God that doesn't happen. Sorry, Stale Burger Bun. Maserati asks, PM. PM. Sorry, I'm reading this wrong. Does that mean they gave up on Evil being in the main event? That is. I'm just reading the question the way that you have it laid out here, Jeremy. What was he?
And that's exactly what he typed in the Discord. I think he was trying to say, with Evil losing, does that mean that Gato gave up on Evil?
No, this was always the booking scenario. I laid out scenarios for guys like Jay White, like Okada, and like Naito. And all of those guys, when they first got their first title runs, they were short title runs. They had one title defense max, I think, and then they dropped it back usually to the guy that they won the belt from, or some similar version of that. So this is actually pretty typical booking for Gato specifically when it comes to establishing a new champion, short-term title run. So no, I don't think it means they gave up on him, but they might want to.
Yeah.
I don't think they should give up on him, but maybe just find something that's more fitting for the guy. Like, I don't think this is the right role for him. He is a good wrestler. It's just
he's not a main eventer IWGP title wrestler.
I mean, I really liked him in his tag team with Sonata. They had some bangers, man. I don't know.
Yeah,
he had some good never title matches. Like, that's where he's at. He is not a top line heavyweight. Like, he is a never guy who should be fighting never guys.
Yeah, it'd be so much better for him.
Absolutely.
So next question here from BJ Baker in the Wrestling Squared Circle. He says, how well do you think score-wise Evil will do in the G1?
I think he will end up with let me take a look here. I'm just kind of looking online through history.
I mean, he's always done pretty well, and he was not a top heavyweight guy. I mean, there's years he's gotten like 10 points, 8 points.
I'm just trying to remember like what it takes to like be in that top line. He's going to get at least minimum 10 points. If I had to make a guess, he'll wind up with 10 or 12 points.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. I
mean, we're saying he's going to be in one of the block finals. So he's going to be one of the top two guys in the block.
Yeah, man. I mean, let's just say 12, he gets 6 wins. That's a lot. That's a lot of wins for Evil in the G1. He's going to take 3 losses, 6 wins. Yeah.
Then last question here from Maserati, or no, actually from Muzza, my bad. He says, with the G1 just around the corner, who do you see beating Naito in the G1 to get a future title shot? My picks are one of the Dangerous Tickers and Ishii.
Those are not bad picks. I think Tanahashi is a really great pick for that. I don't see him headlining the Dome or winning another G1. I see him getting a title shot against Naito. I also got a feeling now, as unlikely as this sounds to people, I think for those Naito fans who have been clamoring for him to have a lengthy title run, I think he might get that, and I think he might retain in the Dome. Unless he's fighting Naito, I don't know that they're going to make a guy against him in the Dome this year. Like that, we might have to wait until, say, Invasion Attack or whatever they want to call it this year. What's it been? Sakura Genesis.
Yeah.
My guess is we might have to wait till February or April of next year for that to happen. I think he's beaten whoever he fights in the G1 this year. And I think he's going to beat Tanahashi on the way there.
Yeah, I definitely think a Tanahashi title match post G1 would be kind of something great to do, a great main event match you can throw out on a big show there on the way to the Dome.
Yep.
And again, that could be fuel to the fire to the Ibushi rivalry. Like Ibushi could be like, you were like stinking it up in our tag team, and you just got an IWGP title shot, and you failed again in that. Like, I should have been in that match, and maybe that could build some animosity there.
Maybe, but that is our review of Summer Struggle in Jingu Stadium, and what a struggle it was. This was the one show of the whole summer that I liked in New Japan.
Yeah, it definitely was a summer struggle, but you know what won't be a struggle for people?
What's that, Jeremy?
Manscaping. When they use the Lawnmower 3.0. If you use Lawnmower 3.0, there should be no summer struggles for you when it comes to manscaping. The Manscaping team engineered the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created and just released a new and improved Lawnmower 3.0. We've been talking about it all summer. By now, you guys should be realizing how great these products are and ordering them.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel like if you haven't ordered, it's really hard for you to realize how great it is until you try it for yourself. You listen to the show every week. You trust our takes, our opinions, and our ratings when it comes to pro wrestling. Trust my opinions, my takes, and my ratings when it comes to manscaping. And you can't do any better than Manscaped. It's well worth the money spent. And not only that, but we have an incredible giveaway along with any of the fantastic products that you might potentially get from Manscaped by using our codes and our credits.
Yeah, so the next 3 people who purchase something from Manscaped and use our code SUPLEX and email us proof of purchase to socialsuplex@gmail will get All Out, which is coming up this Saturday. You will get that courtesy of the Social Suplex Podcast Network. So you're getting the 20% off. You're getting the free shipping. You're getting a product that features a cutting-edge ceramic blade that reduces manscaping accidents, lasts 90 minutes, water-resistant technology, LED light, 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology. You're getting all of that, the discount, and the all-out pay-per-view.
And listen, if using a ball trimmer is not your thing, maybe you want some deodorant. Maybe you want some butt wipes. Maybe you want a nose trimmer. I don't know what it is that you need to take care of, but you know your specific hygienic needs. And our friends over at Manscaped have got you covered. Go to the website, take a look at the products. It doesn't even matter what it is. Find what you need. And then when you do, go ahead and buy it. Use our code SUPLEX to check out. And not only are you getting the 20% off, which is a fantastic deal, and you don't have to pay for shipping, but we're going to give you one of the best wrestling shows of the year. Now, I know it's AEW. Some of you are pro elitists, but are you really telling me you're not going to watch it if we pay for it? Because it's on us. So instead of going and getting an illegal, pirated channel that might drop, it might lag, it might have terrible, graphics or whatever you want to, whatever it is, let us pay for you to have the actual pay-per-view. Take care of your hygienic needs and thank us. And that's it.
Yeah, so that code is SUPLEX at manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping. SUPLEX at manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping.
So now is the time of the show where we discuss the match of the month and the wrestler of the month for the month of August 2020.
Yeah, and we definitely, had some tough choices to make. There's a lot of candidates for Wrestler of the Month. There were some interesting candidates for Match of the Month, but we finally narrowed it down here.
Yeah, so starting with Match of the Month, we had to award this to Suzuki and Shingo. And, Jeremy mentioned that his match of the night at the Jingu Stadium show was easily the Hiromu and Ishimori match. And, you can make that argument with me, and I'd probably agree with you. These matches were so close in quality. It's literally splitting hairs. I think the reason we ended up going with Shingo and Suzuki, I felt personally that it was slightly better in terms of overall quality. But as we've had to do in many other months where we weren't completely sure about what the match of the month was, we've deferred to the overall ratings on both Grapple, as well as cage match. And I mean, literally, when I say that it's razor thin, it is razor thin. We're talking like fractions of a point. But on both websites, they've got the Suzuki Shingo match slightly rated higher. So that's the reason we are announcing it. Shout out to the Never six-man tournament finals where Yoshihashi won his title. That, believe it or not, actually wasn't far off in quality from these two matches either. And it was rated pretty highly on both those sites in comparison to both these Jingu Stadium shows. But that's going to do it for Match of the Month. Suzuki versus Shingo. They take it.
And then for the August Wrestler of the Month, our winner for that is going to be the new Never Openweight champion, the King Minoru Suzuki. The reason we picked Suzuki, the build-up with the Shingo match, it was a great build with all the multi-man matches, the promos that they were doing, and then they went out there, had a great match. Suzuki winning the Never Openweight title once again. Suzuki's just been having an incredible year. Obviously, we're focusing on August, but this was a really good month for him. Shout out to some of the other runner-ups that we talked about. We talked about Yoshihashi, believe it or not, finally winning his first New Japan title, having some great matches in that Never six-man tournament. He did really well, but I don't know. I just felt like the overall build to Suzuki Shingo was just better, and I think in the long term that Suzuki wins is going to mean more in the future.
Yeah, Suzuki had a lot going for him. It doesn't count for this month, but coming off that big win over Nagata leading into the month, that did a lot to kind of like skyrocket him. And then the next night, which also counts for the month, I know it's not the most stringent thing, but he actually went to Big Japan and fought in one of their big shows and had an unexpected excursion match against Noyora, one of the young up and coming stars that they have over there. So did some big things here this month. I will say this is one of the worst months in recent memory when it comes to New Japan. Just taking a look at all the Road 2 shows that they had, that Summer Struggle tour in Cork and Hall was very rough. And usually when it comes to Wrestler of the Month, we're looking at like how many great matches do they have, how many achievements do they have. But this month we were like literally looking over, like I sent Jeremy a list, like we considered Yano, we considered Yoshihashi, the Golden Aces, Dangerous Techers, Shingo, Suzuki, Hiromu, Ishimori, Naito, Kenta, the Chaos six-man team as a whole unit. Like we literally weren't sure. And I think our deliberations literally came down to Yoshihashi and Suzuki. And the funny thing is like we're deliberating and like Jeremy's like giving me the reasons why it can't be the Golden Aces, and they're like pretty valid. And then he was like, and then Yoshihashi had a good month, but we can't give it to him. It's Yoshihashi. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? And then I was fighting him on it. And he's like, if you want to give it to Yoshihashi, we can do that. And I was like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we can't disqualify him based on our prejudices. So after a lengthy discussion about Suzuki and Yoshihashi, we did feel overall, based on his promo work, his personal work and his lead up matches, the few that they had, and then his achievement, ending Shingo's fantastic reign, that Minoru Suzuki had to be the winner here.
Yeah. So congrats to the King, Minoru Suzuki, the August Wrestler of the Month. And so now, real quickly, we're going to talk about this past week's NJPW Strong, which we watched using the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com, with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, and custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit njpwext.us today for details. And of course, we're still doing these Friday watch parties using the EXT, so you can come on, hop in the chat. Trust me, it'll make it a lot more enjoyable, especially for this past week's show.
Here's my thoughts. Standing Limelight beat Jordan Clearwater in 5 minutes and 58 seconds. The match was good. It was fine. Adrian Quest, Barrett Brown, Blake Christensen, and Mysterioso Jr. defeated ACH, Clark Connors, Carl Fredericks, and TJP. This match was the best match of the night. It was good. It wasn't great, but it was good. Surprised that the team that won defeated the team with the bigger names in ACH, Connors, Fredericks, and TJP. And then the main event, Chase Owens and PJ Black. It's an interesting matchup. They went 11 minutes. I didn't think the match was great. It was fine. Nothing really too memorable from this match, from this show. I will say I thought this was, again, not the best New Japan Strong showing. In fact, I was so disenfranchised with the show that I sent a remark out to our group chat that said New Japan Strong is weak.
Yeah, I mean, compared to the Lions Break collisions that just came off so well, the last couple of weeks of Strong just not hitting on the same level. And I know this was, quote unquote, this was the road to Fighting Spirit Unleashed. And
oh, that's right. It's supposed to be a Road to show.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think the thing that's really missing from Strong right now is more promos, more angles. With this being a quote unquote road to Fighting Spirit Unleashed, we're going to talk to some of the big matches they're building up here in a second. But I feel like there should have been more promos. We did get a Jay White promo at the beginning, but I did feel like there should have been more promos building to those matches. There should have been some kind of angle, maybe some kind of confrontation, something, or some kind of multi-man match featuring the guys that are being built for these big matches on Fighting Spirit Unleashed to add some juice here.
I 100% agree. I'm just wondering, what's the narrative here? What is the narrative? I'm not saying they got to go full Lucha Underground and, do backstage, cinematic stories, but give us a story, man. Tell us something. We got some stories during that Lions Break Collision show, and we really enjoyed that. We're not getting that here. These matches are just happening. And it's if you want to make your own story about the Chase Owens, run that he's on here in Strong, fine. But I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to cap for this shit. It's not that good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of a story here with Owens and PJ Black, but you would have had to have watched the Strong Sessions podcast that PJ Black did with Kevin Kelly. He talked about, wanting to be a part of Bullet Club, he couldn't be a part of Bullet Club, and how these guys
no. Hell no. I'm not doing that. Tell me the story on the show.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You would have had to have listened to Strong Sessions. How many people listened to that interview to know that PJ Black, he talked about potentially forming his own stable to face off against Bullet Club? If you didn't hear that interview, this was just a regular exhibition match.
Bro, some episodes of Dark are better than this.
Yeah.
So, coming up on New Japan Strong, September 4th, we've got Flip Gordon against Jay White, as well as Brody King against Hikuleo and Mr. No Days Off, Fred Rosser, otherwise known as, what was his name before?
Darren Young.
Oh, yeah, Darren Young.
One half of the primetime players with Titus O'Neil. Millions of dollars.
He was also one of the original Nexus members, a member of the first season of NXT. Very famous for coming out as a gay man in the WWE, which they said that they're going to back that, but then they never used him ever again after that. So
and they released him.
And then they released him. Oh, yeah. Darren Young going to make WWE great again. And they gave him Bob Backlund as a...
oh, my gosh. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that happened. I got to be honest with you. I don't know what Fred Rosser's doing in my New Japan, but it's New Japan USA, so we'll see. But, he's not a guy I want to see in New Japan, at all. Where's Russ Taylor? Give me fucking Russ Taylor.
Well, he's getting ready to be a part of the Ring of Honor Pure tournament.
Yeah, I've got some inside news about that whole situation, but I can't divulge it on there. September 11th, Kenta versus Jeff Cobb for the right to challenge for the IWGP US Heavyweight Championship. And we got some questions.
Yep. So from otherside_B, when do you think Jon Moxley will defend the US title?
When he can get to Japan and when he's not the AEW champion.
I mean, those are the two big things, because Tony Khan's not going to let his world champion lose on Strong and probably not lose in the United States. So,
bro, the funny thing, this sounds so mean, but I am a member of a lot of I'm silently a member of a lot of like New Japan Facebook groups. Like I just join them all just to kind of see what people are doing. And there's a wide variety of different spectrum of fans, you know, from your like most ardent, hardcore, like diehard, like puro old heads to like people who don't know anything. And like you wouldn't believe how many people I've seen post being like, they need to have Kenta come on Dynamite and have John Moxley defend the belt in Daly's place. And like I've seen that a lot. Now I'm not on Twitter like you, but I'm on my Facebook groups.
Dude, that is the first that I've seen that take.
Oh, bro, it's all over. It's like in all these pro groups, like, and they're big. They're not like small groups. You know, we're talking 15, 20,000 member groups like on Facebook. And I see a bunch of people posting that and like a lot of people agreeing, like hundreds or thousands. And I'm like sitting there thinking like, oh my God, don't you guys know that's not going to happen first off, and it can't happen. But it's just funny. Anything else? I don't have anything else to say about that. Can I go to the next question?
Yeah, go to the next question.
Dom Homie 101 asks us, why isn't nobody talking about how shitty Kenta's ring gear is? He needs some new fucking gear.
I mean,
that's been his gear for a long time. I like it.
Yeah, I like it. It's a traditional Kenta gear.
It's better than that yellow and brown joint that he used to rock, which fucking was terrible. It looked like piss and shit.
Wow. I mean, if you want to complain anything about his look, I mean, his hair is still a hot mess.
Bro, I'm a big fan of his look because he's got like what it looks like was when I was in workshop class and we used to be able to like spatter our our joints. Like whenever we like got done working on our projects, we would like splatter the joint or splatter the paint on it. And I always use black and white because 1994, Bret Hart was rocking those colors. He was wearing the black and he had the white splattered all over it. And I think that's where Kenta got the inspiration from. I'm just going to believe that because that's what it looks like to me. So I'm not going to talk crap about his gear. He's got Bret Hart 1994, paint splatter gear. It's awesome.
I didn't put those connections together, but sure.
Bro, anytime I see anybody that has paint splattered on their gear, like they stole it from Bret. He did it first, 1994.
Yeah, I'm sure Kenta is a big Bret the Hitman Hart fan.
I'm fully convinced he is.
All right, so moving on here, we did have a press conference early this morning, August 31st, talking about the upcoming New Japan Road Tour. So one of the big highlights of this.
Oh, New Japan Road?
Yes.
Road.
Yes, Road is back for the third time this year.
New Japan Road. It's not the road to the G1 Climax?
Nope. It's just.
What the fuck are they doing?
Dude, why this tour, the same name? This is literally the third or fourth time we've had a New Japan Road Tour this year.
Bro, the funny thing is WWE even has Road to WrestleMania. Y'all can't do the Road to G1 Climax. Figure it out. What's the next big?
Just do a separate named tour that's not New Japan Road.
What's the next big show? G1. All right, the Road to the G1. Boom. Easy. They need to hire me for their marketing. Someone's fucking up over there. I don't know who it is. Road. Get the fuck out of here.
So one of the big things announced for New Japan Road. So we had Show coming out. He vacated the IWGP Junior Tag Team titles, saying that Yo is unlikely to come back before the end of the year due to his knee injury. And Show said that they would be vacating the titles in a post-match interview at Summer Struggle in Jingu. So they made it official. The titles have been vacated. And as a result, there's going to be a 4-team round-robin tournament that will start on September 3rd. The 2 teams who score the most points will face off in the finals of the tournament on September 11th. So tell us the teams of this tournament, young boy.
Before I do that, I just want to point out, we don't have enough time for us to get a Best of the Super Juniors of any, at all, in any kind of style, format. But we got enough to do a junior tag team title tournament.
A mini Super Junior Tag League.
Oh, that's awesome. So the following teams that will be competing, and boy, are they great. You got Ryosuke Taguchi and Master Wato. The second team, Hiromu Takahashi and Bushi. The third team, El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. And then your final team, Taiji Ishimori and Gedo.
Wow, what a strong field there.
Yeah, I did the math here, and luckily it's only going to be like 6 matches, I think. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think that's the whole – it's a single block tournament, and whoever ends up with the most points at the end wins. But, you know, Gedo seems to like to do ties at the ends of these tournaments and then turn the tournament into like a tiebreaker on a bigger show. So,
well, the whole deal is so it's not whoever has the most. It's the 2 teams that have the most will face off in the finals.
Oh, so there is going to be a finals regardless.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad. So then, that's even better. So that means we get to see those 2 teams fight each other once and then fight each other again at the end regardless.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. I can't wait. I can't wait to watch Taguchi and Wato fight Ishimori and Gedo twice. It's going to be so good. What a treat.
We had a question here from Red User Viking Pain. It says, Roppongi 3K are going to vacate the junior tag title soon. Now, I'd rather see the junior tag title shipped off to America to be defended on Strong, but let's say they keep them in Japan. Who becomes the next junior tag champions? Wato Taguchi, Despy Kanemaru, Hiromu Bushi, or Gedo Ishimori?
I don't know. People are not going to like my answer, but I mean, things seem to be better in the world when Despy and Kanemaru were the champions. Maybe you just go back to them. I don't know.
Well, on the NJPW Collection card game app, they just recently updated. First of all, I never mentioned this theory because I know people would say it's ridiculous. But when Evil won when Naito won the title, they quickly changed the title screen to feature Naito having the double titles. Evil won the title, and they left that title screen exactly the way it was with Naito with the double titles. And now that Naito's won them back, they've changed it to a Suzuki-Gun title screen featuring Suzuki, Sabre, Taichi, Desperado, and Kanemaru. So with Suzuki-Gun getting this highlight on the app, I'm thinking you're right that Desperado and Kanemaru could be getting these titles. And then you would have Suzuki-Gun with a bunch of belts.
That's not crazy. I mean, if you think about it, you got Suzuki winning the Never title. You got Dangerous Tekkers winning the main tag titles. I mean, Desperado and Kanemaru are the only actual tag team here. You could argue Takahashi and Bushi, but I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to see Takahashi saddled with the junior titles.
Yeah, he's above that right now.
I think he's going to the G1, so I don't know. So that's my hope. But like, there is that whole thing where it's like I've seen the best match I think you can probably lay out here, historically speaking, is Hiromu and Bushi against Despy and Kanemaru, but it's a match we've seen many, many, many times in the past. So I'm not really – there is no matchup here I'm really looking forward to. Maybe you could do something cool with Taguchi and Wato. Maybe a tag team like – that was my theory, if you recall last week, was that we ended up with a tag team feud between Taguchi and Wato and Desperado and Kanemaru. And it didn't turn out the way that I booked it, which was kind of like – in the dark booking anyways, but I kind of won't be surprised if those end up being your 2 teams at the end.
You definitely could, especially you probably don't want to get Hiromu tied up in the finals and if he's getting ready for G1, but if they want to put on a finals that is the best possible, quality matchup, star rating wise, then LIJ Suzuki would be the way to go.
Yeah, and if you want to like salvage Wato, now might be the time to like redeem him by giving him some tag title win or some tag wins in this tournament, and then have him win the belt.
Right.
And then he's not such a failure, even though he just got beat clean.
Yeah.
Next question from Dom Homie 101. He said, why doesn't New Japan work with other companies or bring in freelancers when it comes to the junior division? This junior tag team lineup is kind of lacking in a way.
Well, honestly, I and maybe you can, if I'm wrong here, let me know. But I feel like one of the major reasons I feel like other promotions don't want to work with New Japan because that is potential for their stars to be stolen, pretty much.
I don't really think that's the case. I think, from what I understand, what I've heard anyways, is just that ever since the deal with Noah kind of blew up back in the day, like New Japan has gone an completely exclusionary route, and they just don't work with any other company. They don't bring outside guys in. They don't send their guys out. When they do, it's very sparingly, at least in Japan. I mean, it's usually only guys of a certain sort of clout or experience level that are allowed to go out and do things with other companies, and it's very rare nowadays. Maybe some freelancer guys, but that's about it. Would it help New Japan's product to bring in some outside guys? Sure. We kind of see the excitement of what AEW has been able to do, bring in some indie guys, but things are very precarious at the same time. I don't think New Japan wants to give any sort of shine to people that are like below them or anything like that, or maybe even create competition for themselves. I think they're just trying to focus on what they do. And I think the safest bet is like, we have proven stars that have been built that our fans are accustomed to. And, people who watch New Japan don't know who like Naruki Doi is, or, whoever you want, Mochizuki or something like that. They just don't,
Right. So yeah, I think it's definitely on both sides. Probably more stronger on the New Japan side, but I'm just thinking back to when they were working with DDT and Dragon Gate and Ricochet and Kota Ibushi were coming over, and then all of a sudden they just became New Japan guys.
That's true. I guess there is that thought. I hadn't really thought of that. It's definitely a possibility. They took Kota Ibushi and people like that. So, but at the same time, it is a boost to your brand if you have your stars working for the biggest company in the world.
Right.
It helps, but New Japan hasn't really given that rub to outside companies in a long time.
Yeah. So also in this press conference, we got the main event for September 11th show. It's going to be headlined by the Never Six-Man Tag Title match with the new champions of Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, and Yoshihashi defending against Okada, Yano, and Sho.
So a rematch of the tournament finals in the past.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm sorry. For some reason, I was thinking Yano is one of the champions, and I was like, oh, Okada's coming back to get that win. But no, that wouldn't be accurate. I don't know, man. I would be surprised to see Okada hold the six-mans, but maybe. It's Okada. Like, there's no reason that they might not just like get those belts off those guys.
Yeah, and it's the Never Six-Man titles. Those things are literally hot potatoed back and forth all time.
It is an interesting thing. The first match was really good. I think it'll be hard for them to live up to the same thing just without that same moment and meaning kind of behind the match and build. But who knows? Maybe I liked the first match a lot, so maybe this will be good too.
Yeah. So rundown, we have 2 shows coming up. We have September 5th and 6th. Run down the card that is coming up on the 5th for us.
So very briefly, we got Kojima against Tsuji opening. After that, we've got Yumura, Yoshihashi, Tomohiro Ishii, and Goto taking on the team of Gabriel Kidd, Sho, Yano, and Okada. Third match of the night, Hanma, Nagata, and Ibushi and Tanahashi taking on Doki, ZSJ, Taichi, and Minoru Suzuki. Fourth match of the night, we've got Sonata, Shingo, and Naito taking on Jado, Yujiro, and Evil. God. Fifth match of the night, we have the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Tournament. We got Wato and Taguchi against Kanemaru and Desperado. And then the main event is Bushi and Hiromu against Gato and Ishimori for the same tournament.
Then we move on to September 6th. We got Yuji Nagata taking on Yuya Uemura. We got Gabriel Kidd, Yoshihashi, Tomohiro Ishii, and Hiroki Goto taking on Tsuji, Sho, Toru Yano, and Kazuchika Okada. We got Hanma, Kojima, Kota Ibushi, and Hiroshi Tanahashi against Doki, Sabre, Taichi, and Minoru Suzuki. we have Sonata, Shingo, and Naito versus Jado, Yujiro, and Evil. Then the semi-main event, we have a tournament match for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles as Suzuki-gun, Kanemaru, and Desperado will take on Bullet Club's Gato and Taiji Ishimori. And then the main event will be the other tournament match for the night as LIJ's Bushi and Hiromu Takahashi takes on Master Wato and Risuke Taguchi.
Yep.
So those are the two coming up shows. Any thoughts there?
Not really. I mean, the only interesting thing is we're seeing quite a few rematches and rehashes of matches that we just saw pretty recently here.
Yeah, so a lot of rematches, a lot of kind of continued feuds and kind of similar matches on both nights. Obviously, with the tournament matches kind of being the main kind of difference here. And interesting observation. LIJ, they're in the main events of both of these nights. So I don't know if that's any indication that they're going to be going to the finals.
I mean, possibly. I mean, they've got Hiromu and Bushi, which are two of the most popular stars in the company. So that might be the case. They also could very easily set up some sort of return angle between. Ishimori's got to figure out a challenger for Ishimori. So maybe they could set up like a rematch with Hiromu, or maybe even Bushi as the next challenger potentially. They could. That's one thing I think they might see a little bit of here, especially if Hiromu's going into the G1, let's say. Then maybe this is just a standby. So maybe they heat up Bushi. Maybe Bushi starts picking up wins. Bushi starts getting hot. And then, maybe he picks up a pinfall win over, say, Ishimori.
Right.
And that sets up a title match between those two.
Yeah, they can do that.
I'm just kind of spitballing here. And then I think that those two teams maybe cancel each other out somehow. We wind up with the final. I'm still going with the Chaos against Suzuki-gun final personally.
You mean Wato and Taguchi?
Oh, yeah. That's what I meant when I said Chaos. I meant Hantai. Sorry about that.
No worries. So that's what we got coming up. Also in that press conference, we had some comments from Tetsuya Naito and talking about wanting to do more stadium shows. And this quote here comes from Naito. He says, "So my proposal is to have more events in the open air. Maybe you might worry about the weather, but I want it to happen. Maybe Jingu Stadium every year, or change it up and run in a different open air venue every year. There are a lot of stadiums used by pro baseball teams or even other grounds up in Hokkaido or Okinawa even. There are a lot of possibilities. I want this to happen. Maybe in the future I can have a big LIJ roll call in Hiroshima's Matsuda Stadium. Whatever, that's just something I want. Maybe it's 80% me going into business for myself, but I want everyone to give it a thought."
Yeah, this is not unusual or out of character for Naito. Naito's mentioned in the past running dome shows throughout the year once again. And, he kind of talked about, like, why is New Japan trying to go overseas to run shows when we haven't even strengthened what we have here? We used to run all these different domes here, and we only do one a year at the Tokyo Dome when, the Osaka Dome exists and the Cebu Dome and all this other stuff. And he's like, we need to be running big shows here domestically. So I'm not surprised that he wants to do open air shows, and I'm all for it. There are ways you can do open air shows even with inclement weather. I think about WrestleMania in New York a couple, 2 years ago. You can build an enclosure on top of the ring to protect the performers in the ring and, that sort of thing. So, I mean, yeah, why not? I would be all for this.
So we had a question here from Rambo and Slam Pigs. Says, "Maybe I'm just starved for wrestling in front of a crowd, but I felt the crowd in Jingu and the whole setup really added something. And Naito talked about coming back when the place can actually be full. Do you see this as a realistic goal in the next few years?"
I do. I think that, especially since this company is hypothetically still hot, I hope it is. Well, we don't know, but I think they probably are. Running running a big show in general is always a way to, like, create a sense of excitement and exclusivity, so people want to attend your show. And then when it's in a unique setting like outdoors, that's a recipe for something that can draw, because it's an event. And if you have a big show with the right guys, the right angles, I don't see why it couldn't draw. I mean, I don't know what kind of numbers we're talking here, so I don't want to throw any unrealistic figures out. But yeah, I think it's realistic.
Yeah, I think it's realistic, and they should definitely do it. It's a great kind of change of pace, and it'd be just a great venue to try and put a lot of butts in seats, make some money, and get a great visual and a great show.
One thing I do want to commend them on is they did a really good job with the presentation. The visuals, the audio looked good. I mean, there's a lot that can go wrong doing an outdoor show, and it's not something that they're really adept at doing, and they were fantastic. The one thing that was bad was Chris Charlton's audio.
Right, which and it wasn't that long. It was fixed like pretty early on.
The one thing I will say, I thought Chris Charlton and Kevin Kelly were fantastic on the call, and it was so awesome to be able to listen to live English commentary once again, which gives me a lot of hope for the future, especially the G1, which they mentioned. But Chris, bro, you work for the second largest wrestling company in the world. You gotta get a mic, a real mic. This man was calling the Summer Struggle in Jingu Stadium on some earbuds, like literally the earbuds that you get out the box when you buy your iPhone. Like either that or either he can afford to get them and he needs to go get a mic, or Harold, bro, you guys got to pay this man more money. Like if he can't afford to do it and he's doing such an excellent job calling this shit, y'all need to pay that man like something, bro. Because yeah, you can't be calling it on that shit.
Yeah, but I still thought his audio quality, once it got fixed at the beginning, ended up being good. And yeah, him and Kevin did a great job. And yeah, I was glad we had English commentary. I felt kind of a bummer though for Chris, because he's there in Japan and he couldn't be there at the show. He had to be wherever he was in a different building. I guess I couldn't do it that way with him there at Jingu. But yeah, overall, yeah, good stuff. And shout out to Kevin Kelly getting up at 4 to do that call and being vibrant and excellent like he always is.
Dom Homie 101 says, thoughts on the possibility of New Japan running more summer shows at outdoor arenas in the future, which could possibly lead to a no rope death explosion match. I think we kind of answered that already. I think we're both in favor of it. I don't know if we're going to get no rope death matches, explosion matches, but who knows? Maybe.
Yeah.
One other thing you didn't mention here. When I listened to the transcription that Naito brought up, he mentioned specifically the double title situation once again, and he kind of posed the question. He's like, "Are these titles unified or not?"
Yeah, that's right. Because Naito's whole thing is he wanted to defend each title separately, even if that meant him having 2 matches on one tour. And so he's like, yeah, the IWGP needs to make a decision. Like, is it a double crown or are they 2 separate titles? If they're 2 separate titles, I want to defend them as 2 separate titles.
And he was like, Chairman Sugabayashi, I'm asking you directly, if you want these 2 belts to be 1 title going forward, I'm fine with that, but get me 1 belt that I can carry around to signify that I'm the champion. Otherwise, let me defend these belts separately on separate nights against separate challengers. He's like, I know that's a lot of demand on my body, but I'm up to the task. That's the position I put myself into. But let's stop confusing everybody by having 1 match for 2 belts. He's like, it's one or the other, man. Just do it. Like, so I kind of like that. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. And so that wraps up all the news from the press conference. Just a few other minor news items here. So like I mentioned earlier, there was a Strong Sessions interview with PJ Black and Kevin Kelly. You can check that out on their YouTube or their podcast feed. The NJPW Shop Global has some new stuff coming to it. Some new premium store goods are going to be available on that Token Shop Global with a new range of premium items that will be available for purchase for fans all over the world. So check that out on the Token Shop Global.
Man, it's crazy. We've got so many New Japan fans that are listening to the show, and we're plugging the Token Shop Global. It almost seems like maybe they should reach out to us and let us shill their shit for them. I don't know.
And then we had...
It's weird. Just seems like a good idea. I don't know.
Then last thing, Jeff Cobb was a guest on the Finish Strong post-show that's been airing after NJPW Strong. And so
let's get into these last few questions before we go.
Yeah, kick it off.
Viking Pain says a bunch of Joshi promotions in Japan, including Stardom, are coming together and make a super show called Assemble. Any chances the men do the same? I noticed Suzuki will be on a BJW show soon, but that might just be his freelancer status. Jeremy?
Yeah, it kind of leans to what we were talking about earlier. I don't feel like, well, I guess New Japan won't be a part of it. Maybe you could have, well, then get the whole cyber agent thing with them. They purchased Noah and DDT, right? The two companies they purchased.
Yeah. I mean, they sent people to work the Baba Memorial last year, and then they sent people to work the Destroyer Memorial. I think they could do a show, like one of those all together shows, like what was proposed and what was talked about by, say, Okada and all that. And I mean, we saw the conglomerate of, representatives and wrestlers, when COVID was together, where they all tried to appeal to Parliament to try and get some support and some reprieve. Maybe that could lead to something. But if I was betting, I would tell you it's probably unlikely. And yes, Suzuki working BJW is absolutely due to the fact that he is a freelancer.
Yeah, so we'll see if anything comes in the future.
Also, I think those Assemble shows are not just one super show. I think it's going to be maybe you know more about this than I do, Jeremy, but it sounded to me like they're going to be a super show promotion.
So I'm not 100% sure. This is where we need the Joshi experts. We need to bring in Dr. Joshi, James Boyd. We need to bring in Zach Porter and get those guys to lay the law down here for us.
Yeah. Next question from Just Little Bear 01. He said, aside from scouring dirt sheets, is there a way to know if a talent is under control versus freelancer?
Under contract.
Is that what I said?
I thought you said control.
Bro, I'm tired. It's been a long weekend and a long couple days here. You guys have no idea. Sorry about that. My answer to this is it is hard to know. And yes, dirt sheets do help. One thing that's actually pretty useful, believe it or not, is Wikipedia. If you go to the roster section of Wikipedia, it's not completely up to date, but they do usually have the status as to whether someone is a known freelancer or not. It doesn't mean that people who are not listed as freelancers are not, it doesn't mean that they're for sure signed to the company, but it's more, it'll tell you who the freelancers are so you can kind of know who's not signed to the company. But this sort of stuff is kind of hush-hush and sort of secretive over there, honestly.
Yeah. Overall, for all promotions, a great resource. Fightful.com, Sean Ross Sapp, he has a page on his site that he keeps track of anytime somebody's contract renews and they sign. And he does have some New Japan guys on there because some news has broken recently of, people sign, especially since people have been signing multi-year contracts. A lot of that's been coming out lately. So Fightful has a lot of updates. It's mainly obviously like the WWE and AEW because that's more readily available. There's more sources there, but some of the New Japan dates are on there. But yeah, it's definitely looking on dirt sheets, listening to Observer Radio. Dave usually has some kind of indications on some of that stuff, and so yeah.
Does he have it listed in order of length of how much time they have left on their contract?
So it's he'll have a promotion, and it'll be like X wrestler's contract is up December 2024.
He needs to have it in order of length so we can kind of see the countdown, starting with whoever's got the least amount of time left versus the most. That way, when you get to the bottom, you wind up with Kota Ibushi, and it's just an indefinite clock because he has a lifetime contract. He's literally signed until the day he passes.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And we know he's going to live to be 150.
I heard that.
And PJ Black on his interviews planning to live until 125. So maybe, we can have the first 100-year-old match of PJ Black versus Kota Ibushi.
Bro, PJ Black be jumping, he does base jumping and stuff. That's a very high risk behavior. It's not people that live to 125 don't jump off of cliffs and stuff like that. I'm just saying. Dom Homie 101 asked, thoughts on what Wrestle Kingdom 15 will look like? Will there still be a limited amount of fan situation? What will the card look like? Will it even take place inside of the Tokyo Dome? If it doesn't take place inside the Tokyo Dome, where does the event take place?
That's a lot of great questions, Dom Homie 101.
We don't know,
Yeah,
dude. We don't know.
It's kind of up in the area. I have no idea what Wrestle Kingdom 15 is going to look like. It really all depends on what the COVID situation is looking at the time. If it's still pretty bad, then it could be a limited capacity sort of thing in the Tokyo Dome. I have a hard time seeing them not doing it in the Tokyo Dome. I feel like it still will be there, but it'll probably be limited capacity. They'll have to wear masks. They'll have to use the app gimmick and not be able to cheer. I think with that tradition, they'll want to keep it in the Dome.
Josh number 2 asked, if you were to take the current New Japan roster and use a video game style rating, what overall would you assign the wrestlers? For instance, Yano is clearly a 99 overall, but what do you give everyone else?
So
I feel like that's a whole podcast we could do outside of this one, literally.
Right, but I think
very similar to what we've done before.
Right, I was gonna say, if anybody wants like to hear kind of an answer to that already, you can go back into the archives during the early COVID era, where we did the Bret Hart wrestler score on the entire New Japan roster, which we measured look, mic, work, and star power, a scale of 40, 10 points for each category there. We went through the whole roster. Yeah,
maybe we'll think of doing something like that. I know One Nation Radio does something like that every year with, they used to until 2K20 came out and was so trash, but they used to give the power rankings to the wrestlers. They would try to correct what who does those games? EA, THQ, 2K. Oh yeah, what 2K does. I'm sure they'll probably do something like that similar when the AEW game comes out. Down the line. So that might be fun. The only thing is there's not actually a game for us, so it almost depresses me to realize, we're doing these ratings, but there's not going to be a game to rate it against, so I don't know.
Then last question here from the Maple Leaf Wrestling History Podcast. Do you guys think AEW could ever potentially sell out any major venues in Japan, or would they require a Japanese fed to do so?
They could. I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't necessarily, but they might not. That's it's just one of those hypotheticals. Like, could they? You're like, yeah, certainly. I mean, they got Kenny Omega. They got working relationships with Japanese, companies like DDT, and potentially along with that, maybe even who's the other group with them? Noah?
With that AEW's worked with?
No, that's with DDT.
Yeah, Noah with Cyber Agent, yeah.
Yes, I mean, if there's I'm not saying I know anything, but like if there's a Cyber Agent tie-in, and then they've got like the Bucks, Kenny, Cody, people like that, Shima. I don't know.
Michael Nakazawa.
Michael Nakazawa. I don't know what the fandom for AEW looks like, but I mean, it also depends on what you mean when you say major venue. I don't know what their distribution in Japan looks like. I don't know what their visibility is like, but if I was betting over the life, I think AEW is going to be around for a while, and I don't know if they're going to Japan anytime soon, but if I had to guess, would they ever sell out a major arena in Japan? I would probably say yes.
Yeah, down the line for sure.
Now, I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, and they probably think that's far-fetched, and we don't know what we're talking about, but I'm like, WWE sells out major arenas and has historically for a long time in Japan. And I know not all of wrestling fans over there are going to like AEW, but I guarantee you if they have visibility there are wrestling fans that like them. And if they partner with the right company, bring in the right people and do the right matches, sure, why not?
Yep, that wraps it up for the question. The last thing I have here is a recommended match of the week. So last week, I recommended Tomohiro Ishii versus Roddy Strong from Honor Rising 2016 Night 1 for the TV title. What do you think of this matchup?
I was underwhelmed. I thought, well, I've seen the Ishii Roddy Strong match from ROH, and I gotta tell you, I think it's a lot better than this match. That doesn't mean that this match isn't good, but I mean, you've got Roderick Strong and Tomohiro Ishii, two of the like best workers of a generation, going head to head. So I kind of expected more, but the match is still really good. If you haven't seen it, I would still recommend that you see it. I would say it's a very good match, but not great. I don't know. I probably went like 3 3/4 on it, maybe.
Okay.
But it was still a really, really fun and entertaining match. You had the Corkin crowd kind of going crazy for everything. Towards the end, they did start busting out some really crazy spots, especially some stuff on the outside that they did. But this was sort of like a mixture of Ishii's, never strong style mixed with Roddy's, indie strong style. So I would love to see these two guys go at it again sometime in the future, because they have a better match in them. And the match they had in ROH is vastly better than this, and it's fantastic. And this one's very good also. So, but Ishii picked up his first ROH title, so it's kind of a historically important match. And yeah, I thought it was good.
Nice. So what is the recommended match for this week?
I have a true banger for you. Like this is, and this one's one that you don't hear a lot of talk about, but I'm telling you, you're gonna fucking love this match. So, in 1994, New Japan decided to run the first and only super grade junior heavyweight tag league. So this was a precursor to the junior tag league that we see nowadays. They didn't follow up on it for years again afterwards. So it was kind of a standalone tournament. The tournament itself, just to kind of give you a quick rundown, had teams like Super Delphin and Taka Michinoku, Sho Funaki and Yuki Ishikawa, Norio Hanaga and Gran Hamada, Masayoshi Motegi and Kamazaki, Flying Scorpio, which is Too Cold Scorpio, and El Samurai, Dean Malenko and Tomokazu Ishizawa, Black Tiger and Great Sasuke, and Shinjiro Otani and Wild Pegasus. And on the final night of this tournament, and this is available on New Japan World for everybody that wants to watch it, and I'm highly recommending that you do. The finals of this match on October 18th, 1994, it is Black Tiger and Great Sasuke taking on Shinjiro Otani and Wild Pegasus.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah, this
great.
match truly fucking rocks. It's like one of the best junior tag matches in New Japan history. When it happened, Dave gave it 4 3/4. I think I would go slightly less, and still I watched it again just to kind of see how great it was to this point. It's got 8.61 on Cage Match. I would go 4.5 on the shit. But it's really a groundbreaking match. It's just really, 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 really awesome.
Nice. Well, that is our recommended match of the week. So go ahead and check that out, and we'll review that next week. And that's going to wrap things up for here this week. Next week, we'll be back to talk about the first 2 shows of New Japan Road and talk about Fighting Spirit Unleashed on NJPW Strong. So if you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate. Click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure to connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is at KI Strong Style. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. Also follow us at Social Suplex. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/socialsuplex. On Instagram, we are at Social Suplex. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, jeremy@socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. On Sundays, we have One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. On Wednesdays, we have the Ricky and Clyde Wrestling Show from Scotland. On Thursdays, we have a new show debuting called the Grave Consequences Podcast with Caleb Ballin and Greg Maserati. They're going to be going over Lucha Underground, so check that out on Thursdays. And on Fridays, we have the 8-Bit Suplex with Josh number 2 and Sandy. And then Saturdays, we have All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a rating and review, and we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Everything is not evil. Tranquilo. Asanayo.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.